Once hailed as a baseball prodigy, young pitcher Seo Yesung confidently vowed to dominate the global stage. And he delivered, securing a legendary shutout victory that cemented his status as a national hero. His spectacular rise led to him becoming the highly coveted first overall draft pick for the Kangwon Miners. Even as a child, his wild, arrogant declarations of total dominance captivated the media. But looking back now, the sheer embarrassment of his past arrogance makes him want to crawl into a hole. He agonizes over why no one bothered to stop his younger self from spouting such nonsense to the world. Yet that early glory was short-lived. A decade plagued by injuries and demotions shattered his body and ruined his career. Standing amidst the ruins of his dreams, a beaten-down Yesung stumbles upon a forgotten relic of his youth. It was an old baseball glove, one he was certain had been thrown away long ago. Staring at it, a long-buried memory resurfaces. Before he became a left-handed pitcher, he was naturally right-handed. A desperate, foolish thought crosses his mind. What if he could start all over again using his original right arm? He scoffs at his own desperation, mocking himself for entertaining such an impossible fantasy. But as he turns away, an unexpected light suddenly emanates from the worn-out leather. Shock washes over him as the glove begins to radiate with a blinding, mystical brilliance. Before he can even comprehend what is happening, the light swallows him whole. In an instant, he is pulled back through time, waking up in his 18-year-old body right after being drafted. His confusion is abruptly shattered when a familiar voice calls out his name. A classmate stands at the door delivering a message that the coach is demanding to see him. The door slams shut with a loud bang, leaving him alone to process this impossible new reality. He sighs, bitterly remembering that during his youth, his arrogance had alienated almost every single teammate. Upon entering the office, he is immediately smothered in a suffocating hug by his overjoyed high school coach. But the coach's celebration quickly shifts, his tone turning into an overly polite inquiry about Yesung's father. He shamelessly asks if Yesung's legendary father could pull some strings to help scout the other high school players. Suddenly, a dark memory from his original timeline comes rushing back. His high school career wasn't special because of his talent, but because of the massive shadow his father cast. His father was none other than Seo Yesung, an absolute god of the sport. As an 8-time Cy Young Award winner, his father was a legendary figure whose influence dominated baseball globally. He was a national hero who'd conquered every single championship he ever set foot in. Even after retiring, he successfully transitioned into a powerful corporate CEO in the United States. Knowing he had nearly ruined Yesung's shoulder for a high school title, the coach desperately feared his career was over. Sensing the coach's rising panic, Yesung calmly agrees to contact his father, catching the man completely off guard. Overjoyed by the unexpected cooperation, the coach ecstatically dismisses him so he can finally rest. Collapsing onto his bed, Yesung stares at the ceiling, overwhelmed by the gravity of his return. He breathes a deep sigh, reflecting on the foolish, rebellious path he took during his first life. Looking at his old messages, he realizes just how cold and rebellious he had been toward his family. This time, he resolves to swallow his useless pride and do things differently. Empowered by this second chance, he presses the dial button, determined to rewrite his history of regrets. But a sudden realization hits him. At this point in time, his father is still living across the globe in America. Before he can calculate the time zone difference, the call connects and a surprise voice answers. Panic flares inside him as he realizes he has called his father in the dead of night. Swallowing his nervousness, he forces himself to greet the man he had ignored for years. The heavy, awkward silence stretching between them on the line is almost suffocating. Desperate to break the ice, Yesung blurts out an invitation to dinner, completely forgetting the distance between them. Realizing his mistake, Yesung mentally screams in embarrassment, but to his absolute shock, his father immediately agrees. Over in America, Seo Yesung immediately stops everything, throwing on his coat to depart for the airport. His business partner Milton watches in disbelief, sarcastically telling him he might as well stay in Korea forever. Dismissing the sarcasm, the legendary pitcher marches forward with absolute purpose. He immediately calls Secretary Kim, demanding the absolute fastest flight back to his homeland. For years, his son had shut him out, refusing to even call him dad, let alone father. Overwhelmed by a sudden protective anxiety, he rushes forward, fearing that something terrible must have happened to his beloved son. Sitting across from each other, a heavy, suffocating silence fills the room as they struggle to bridge the gap of a decade. Clearing his throat, Seo Yesung admits that having dinner at such an odd hour feels somewhat awkward. Sipping his water, the legendary pitcher casually mentions he already ate on the plane, leaving Yesung to curse his own social awkwardness. Determined to break the ice, his father warmly congratulates him on his shutout victory and his first overall draft selection. Deeply touched by the unexpected praise, Yesung swallows his pride and offers a genuine, polite thank you. Suddenly, his father stands up, his sharp eyes catching sight of something hidden nearby. Reaching down, Seo Yesung pulls out the worn, battered baseball glove, his eyes widening in utter disbelief. Yesung panics, instantly recognizing the relic that had started his own mystical journey. His father whips around, staring at him with an intensity that threatens to pierce right through his soul. The air between them completely freezes as the realization of a shared secret begins to settle. Yesung quickly stammers out an apology, assuming his father is upset that he took the personal keepsake.
But his father merely looks down at the glove, whispering a trembling, impossible question. Had Yesung also returned from the future? Yesung's heart stops as the glove in his father's hands suddenly begins to glow with a familiar, ethereal light. The worn leather radiates with a mystical brilliance, casting away all doubt about the impossible truth. Utterly stunned, Yesung can barely process the words that had just left his father's mouth. Sitting together on the sofa, a mind-bending revelation takes hold. His legendary father had also been living a second life. Yesung clutches his head in sheer bewilderment, laughing hysterically at the absolute madness of their reality. A tragic memory resurfaces, detailing the painful history of the man sitting beside him.
Years ago, KBO champion Seo Yesung was on the verge of a historic Major League debut, watched closely by eager scouts.
But tragedy struck in an instant when a devastating wild pitch struck him directly in the head.
Rushed to the hospital in critical condition, his legendary career was cruelly cut short before it could even begin.
In the dark abyss of his ruined dreams, he contemplated ending it all, anchored only by his love for his family.
Unable to bear the pain of his shattered life, he prepared to burn all his cherished baseball memorabilia.
Yet, standing before the roaring fire, he hesitated, unable to destroy the final remnants of his passion. He pulled out his very first glove, realizing that turning it to ash would mean letting his dreams die forever. He stared at the worn leather, weeping for the future he had so cruelly been denied. Collapsing to his knees, he cried out to the heavens, begging for just one more chance to play the game. The old glove lay quietly on the cold ground, a silent witness to a broken man's deepest desperation. Clasping it to his chest, he poured his entire soul into a final heartbreaking prayer. In response to his raw desperation, the glove burst into a blinding mystical light, swallowing his consciousness whole. Just like that, the miraculous artifact pulled him back through the fabric of time to rewrite his destiny. Smiling softly, his father confesses that upon his return, his very first act was begging Yesung's mother to marry him. While his father sighs in relief, Yesung's sweat drops, highly doubting that desperate proposal was a normal way to start a marriage. Suddenly, a long-forgotten memory from his early childhood flashes before Yesung's eyes. He recalls a day when they were watching a time travel cartoon together and his father had suddenly paused the TV. His father had turned to him with a deeply serious expression, gripping his tiny shoulders. With immense gravity, he had warned his young son never to alter the past if he ever gained the power of time. Connecting the dots after all these years, the true heartbreaking meaning behind his father's warning finally becomes clear. In the original timeline, his parents had been blessed with a second child, a beloved daughter Yesung had never known. Silence descends upon the living room as they both contemplate the heavy sacrifices made to secure this present reality. Yesung looks at the old photographs, realizing his father chose to abandon a future daughter just to save him. For years, Yesung had wallowed in self-pity, completely blind to the unimaginable burdens his father carried. Wanting to move past the heavy revelations, his father stands up, proposing they finally share their stories. Stepping out into the crisp air of a nearby playground, the legendary pitcher prepares to catch his son's ball. Holding the baseball, Yesung feels a profound wave of nostalgia, remembering the last time they played catch. His father urges him to throw, ready to face the pitch with open arms. Winding up, Yesung unleashes a powerful throw, utilizing his original natural right arm for the very first time. The ball cuts through the air like a bullet, smacking heavily into his father's leather glove. Snaring the ball effortlessly, his father looks back with a knowing smile, recognizing the incredible power behind the pitch. Gulping down his nervousness, Yesung prepares to reveal the ultimate truth of his second chance. Wincing at his son's physical stance, the legendary pitcher asks why a natural right-hander is suddenly pitching with his left. Realizing his son chose a left-handed style purely out of spite for his right-handed father, Taesun loses his footing in sheer shock. Yesung admits he deliberately did the exact opposite of everything his father did back then, hiding his true, desperate longing. Hurling the ball back with a powerful snap, Taesung asks with a mixture of amusement and hurt if he truly hated him that much. Catching the throw cleanly, Yesung winds up, ready to prove his dedication through the raw power of his pitch. The ball tears through the air, smacking violently into Taesung's leather glove with a resounding, deafening crack. Looking down at the smoking leather, the legendary pitcher realizes just how much unbridled potential his son possesses. Under the quiet morning sky, father and son continue their intense exchange, the ball cutting through the air like a bullet. Each heavy throw carries the weight of a decade's worth of unspoken words, shattering the barrier between them. The echoes of their heavy pitches ring loudly across the empty playground, scattering a flock of resting birds. Finally, their gloves drop heavily to the ground as their ragged breathing fills the cool morning air. Collapsing onto the playground pavement, Taesung playfully teases his son's physical limits, completely oblivious to his own exhaustion. Smiling weakly, Yesung counters by pointing out his father's trembling legs, reducing the legendary pitcher to defensive, comical excuses. Despite the exhaustion and the sudden, intense jet lag, Yesung feels a warm, profound sense of peace settle over him. Sitting side by side on the curb, Taesung's expression softens as he asks his son what his next step will be. Looking ahead with unwavering determination in his eyes, Yesung declares his absolute resolve to play baseball once again. Touched by the fire in his son's eyes, the father warmly commands him upwards to do it properly this time. Under the fading shadows of the morning park, a silent, comfortable understanding finally bonds the two together. Yesung is caught completely off guard when his father softly promises to help him achieve his dreams. Worried about his father's multi-million-dollar business in the States, Yesung politely tries to decline the grand gesture. Taesung merely smirks, jokingly asking if his son thinks he went bankrupt or if he needs to become a U.S. senator first. Yesung nervously holds his tongue, quietly recalling that his father's American business is actually on the absolute brink of bankruptcy. Brushing aside the future, Taesung gazes at him, pleading for a chance to finally play the role of a true father. Staring in utter disbelief, Yesung struggles to process the sudden, overwhelming warmth of his father's words. The quiet moment is suddenly interrupted by the sharp, robotic ring of the security intercom announcing a visitor's arrival. Looking down at his phone, Yesung's heart drops as he realizes his mother has arrived for their planned dinner. Panicking, Yesung asks if his mother is aware of his sudden return, only for Taesung to sheepishly admit he forgot to tell her. Panic instantly flares between them as the gravity of her sudden arrival settles over the two conspirators. Realizing they're about to face his formidable mother, Taesung desperately scrambles for a plan, begging Yesung for any party supplies. The heavy front door swings open, and Yesung's mother steps inside with a cheerful greeting on her lips. But her smile quickly falters, her eyes widening in absolute confusion at the bizarre sight waiting for her. Crouched awkwardly with a ridiculous pink bow on his head, the legendary pitcher nervously tries to play off his sudden arrival. Bursting into joyful laughter, she throws her arms around them, ecstatic that the two stubborn men have finally reconciled. Pulling them both close, she happily declares that this historic family reunion deserves a commemorative photo and a massive feast. Looking at the silly picture, Yesung realizes his mother's warmth far outshines any shock of his father's regression. Soon after, a plane cuts through the clear blue sky, carrying a very unexpected guest to South Korean soil. Standing at the airport terminal, Yesung is greeted in fluent English by a towering, incredibly imposing foreign stranger. Stunned, Yesung warily asks his smiling father if this massive giant was seriously flown in just to be a bullpen catcher? Realizing his father's definition of support is absolutely extreme, Yesung can only laugh at the absurd drive of a regressor. Grinning confidently, the legendary Taesung proudly introduces the elite trainer Timothy, hired solely to catch Yesung's pitches. Yesung recalls his mother's terrifying reputation as a public figure, remembered for her notoriously sharp and ruthless television appearances. Despite her formidable on-screen persona, she always jokingly complained that her most aggressive remarks were simply the result of malicious editing. Back in their bedroom, she stares at her husband in disbelief, demanding to know why he is suddenly abandoning his American business. Gently sighing, Taesung defends his decision, insisting that spending precious time with his family is far more valuable than any corporate success. Blushing slightly, he asks his wife to manage his corporate shares while he focuses entirely on rebuilding his bond with Yesung. She crosses her arms, deeply skeptical of her husband's sudden, suspicious change of heart regarding their son. Unable to hold back, she bursts into absolute laughter, finding his newfound domestic enthusiasm utterly hilarious. Undeterred, Taesung passionately lists his grandfatherly plans, from visiting amusement parks to attending parent-teacher association meetings. Narrowing her eyes, she leans in uncomfortably close, searching his face for the real motive behind this bizarre behavior. Feeling her intense gaze piercing through him, Taesung's sweat drops, desperately trying to keep the secret of his regression safe. Discussing his financial holdings, she asks how they should manage his massive corporate shares. She advises that Wilton, their primary business rival, will be absolutely eager to acquire his stake. Fortunately, the reality of regression remains entirely beyond her sharp deduction as she books her flight to New York. A few days later, she cheerfully departs for the United States to officially wrap up his remaining business affairs. Seizing the sudden opportunity, Taesung volunteers as a one-day guest coach for Yesung's high school baseball team. In the locker room, Taesung proudly declares this is his chance to attend the school observation class he missed. Yesung warily cautions his eager father not to overexert himself, suggesting he simply take photos and sign autographs. Playfully offended, Taesung reassures him that he holds a proper coaching license and understands the struggles of ordinary players. Yesung is dumbfounded when his genius father actually agrees, since the legendary pitcher has never had to teach anyone. Stepping outside, Taesung politely agrees to let the school staff take photos but firmly declines any formal interviews. The school official bows in immense gratitude, pleading with the journalists to paint their institution in a shining light. Taesung instructs Yesung to stick closely by his side so the reporters can capture them together. Though Yesung readily complies, he can't help but wonder what convoluted plan his father is cooking up now. The flashing cameras instantly remind Yesung of the colossal legendary status his father truly holds in the baseball world. Addressing the young players, Taesung casually references his former major league colleague, the legendary closer Ezekiel Quarta, to explain pitching. The awestruck students whisper in absolute disbelief, stunned that their coach refers to a 400-save MLB legend so casually. With expert precision, the master pitcher demonstrates how narrowing a stride can dramatically improve a throw's control. Pointing out a flaw, Taesung warns a player that altering his form during curveballs will get him crushed in the pros. Watching the smooth, natural coaching session, Yesung's old teammate points out that his father is nothing like the cold monster Yesung described. Yesung stares at his childhood friend Lee Byung-ju, the exceptionally talented catcher who went on to build a historic KBO career. Yesung's sweat drops, desperately trying to remember what bitter lies he had told his best friend about his father in the past. Under the warm morning sun, the legendary pitcher successfully wraps up his unforgettable day as a guest coach. Clutching a cute yellow chick balloon, Yesung follows his father to their next, highly unexpected destination. Taesung asks why he looks so sour, pointing out that visiting an amusement park together was once Yesung's biggest childhood dream. Floating high above the park on the Ferris wheel, Yesung realizes this childlike wish had lingered in his father's guilt-ridden heart for years. Feeling closer than ever, Taesung stretches comfortably, casually asking his son about the state of the Kangwon Miners. Caught completely off guard by the sudden transition to professional baseball, Yesung stares blankly at his father. Yesung explains that the Kangwon Miners are a relatively new expansion franchise that entered the first league 5 years ago. Despite their different operating strategies, Yesung reveals both expansion teams have embarrassingly finished in dead last for 5 straight years. Yesung explains that the KBO recently adopted a highly competitive 2-league format, leaving the struggling Miners at the absolute bottom. Taesung ponders the dismal track record, noting how incredibly difficult it is for a brand new expansion team to find success. Yesung reveals the team's wealthy owner insisted on naming them after the local mining roots of the massive GW Group. In a desperate bid to win over local fans and boost power, the owners had shattered salary caps to secure top-tier free agents. Yet, despite their multi-billion-won spending spree, the team's ongoing losing streaks have turned them into a national laughingstock. Utilizing his knowledge of the future, Yesung silently recalls that this disastrous season will ultimately end in another dead-last finish. He also remembers that the current manager will soon resign in disgrace, paving the way for a highly decorated successor. Intrigued by the prospect of a legendary successor, Taesung listens intently to his son's detailed memories of the future. Yesung reveals the incoming manager is none other than Song Moon-jung, a titan with 5 Korean Series rings and Olympic gold. Taesung smiles warmly at the name, fondly recalling how much he respected the gentleman during his own national team days. Yesung sweat drops, knowing full well that manager Song actually owed his entire career of medals to his father's unstoppable pitches. Leaning forward, Taesung eagerly inquires how manager Song's leadership ultimately turned the struggling franchise around. Yesung's face darkens as he reveals the tragic truth. The elderly manager collapsed from stress and resigned due to severe health issues. A brilliant, calculating smirk spreads across Taesung's face as he realizes he can save the old man and help his son at the exact same time. Staring in utter disbelief, Yesung struggles to comprehend the sheer audacity of his father's sudden, unspoken plan. Shifting his focus to the corporate battlefield, Taesung seriously asks who holds the true power behind the Kangwon Miners. Taesung notes that based on public articles, the official general manager of the franchise seems to be nothing more than a powerless scarecrow. Yesung racks his brains, searching his memories of the original timeline to identify the powerful shadow operating behind the scenes. With a sudden burst of clarity, Yesung remembers that Representative Jo Woo-jin held a direct, unshakable line of communication to the owner. High above the city skyline, the towering glass headquarters of the powerful GW Group gleams in the bright daylight. Inside the luxurious executive suite, the formidable chairman Kang Woon-duk receives confirmation that their secret discussions with manager Song are officially complete. Annoyed by the sudden public spectacle, Chairman Kang Woon-duk demands to know if they can recruit the legendary Seo Taesum, who has returned to Korea to teach students for free. Seeing an opportunity, Representative Jo Woo-jin proposes an ambitious coaching dream team, pairing the incoming manager Song Moon-jung with Taesung as their pitching coach. The brilliant proposal instantly wins over the chairman, who heartily praises head Jo's sharp instincts and growing understanding of the game. Grateful for the high praise, Jo Woo-jin vows to make contact with the legendary pitcher immediately to seal the deal. Stepping out onto the windy rooftop terrace, a sudden wave of apprehension washes over head Jo. He pulls out a cigarette, his mind racing as he reflects on Taesung's notoriously stubborn and unyielding past. He bitterly recalls how Taesung flatly rejected multi-billion won modeling offers and ignored paid retirement packages, proving his absolute indifference to corporate money. Nursing a growing headache, Jo wonders if he will have to resort to stalking the high school campus just to catch a glimpse of the elusive legend. Suddenly, his phone vibrates with an incoming call from an unrecognized mysterious number. Answering cautiously, Jo is caught completely off guard when the caller knows his name and official title. The voice on the other end calmly introduces himself not as a corporate VIP, but simply as Yesung's father. Recognizing the name of their highly anticipated first-round draft pick, Jo's professional demeanor falters as he tries to process the sudden contact. His entire body completely freezes mid-motion as the true gravity of those words finally pierces through his thoughts. The realization hits him like a freight train, connecting the draft pick's father to the one man he desperately needed to recruit. His jaw drops in absolute shock as he realizes the legend himself, Seo Taesung, has reached out directly to him. Meeting immediately, the eager executives pull out all the stops, offering Taesung a premier pitching coach contract with a guaranteed promotion to head manager. Taesung can barely hide his amusement, marveling at how his simple request for a coaching job somehow materialized into a guaranteed future manager role. Sipping his tea, Taesung voices a practical concern, questioning if the incoming manager would truly welcome a highly threatening successor waiting in the wings. The executives laugh off his worries, revealing that the aging manager Song is actually ecstatic about securing such an elite pitcher as his eventual successor. Understanding Song's declining health and gentle nature, Taesung nods thoughtfully, realizing this perfect arrangement aligns exactly with his future knowledge. Deciding to handle things personally, Taesung declines the formal introduction and dials his old mentor's number from the driver's seat. Greeting his respected senior with a warm smile, Taesung is instantly met with affectionate, rough-around-the-edges banter from the veteran manager. When the old coach jokingly warns him about the potential public backlash regarding his son, Taesung can only chuckle at the blunt but caring advice. The conversation flows effortlessly as the lonely veteran complains about missing his favorite rice wine and the lack of company during the busy season. With the business successfully resolved, Taesung warmly promises to treat his beloved old mentor to a long-overdue drink very soon. Night falls over the city, casting a quiet glow over the high-rise apartment complex the family calls home. Stepping through the front door, Yesung recoils in sheer terror at the eerie looming silhouette waiting for him in the pitch blackness. Sitting dramatically at the table without any lights on, Taesung calmly greets his heavily breathing, deeply startled son. Quickly recovering, a highly skeptical Yesung deadpans, questioning if this absurdly dramatic display means his father's meeting with head Joe was a success. Taesung visibly flinches when Yesung jokingly asks if they actually made him the head manager of the expansion franchise. Stunned by his father's guilty reaction, Yesung's eyes widen as he demands to know if Taesung actually agreed to the manager position. Taesung proudly clarifies the dual deal, leaving Yesung completely speechless over his father's terrifyingly swift, calculated power play. Yesung's mind reels in absolute disbelief as his laughing father casually hands over the fully drafted official professional contract. Noticing the unsigned signature line, Yesung playfully teases his father, asking if this is all just a desperate, elaborate bluff to save face. Taesung defensively protests that he is simply waiting for his wife's legal approval, while a highly amused Yesung chuckles and dismisses him. Tossed casually onto the couch, the heavy bag lands with a dull thud, signaling the end of an exhausting but historic day. Desperate to prove his honesty, Taesung lunges forward with his phone, waving a heartfelt thank you text from head Joe directly in his son's face. He triumphantly displays a cheerful arm-in-arm selfie with the billionaire chairman himself, complete with a proudly displayed autographed baseball. Though finally convinced, Yesung's expression darkens as he wonders if his father is prepared for the inevitable media storm. Watching his father boast about his untouchable reputation, Yesung realizes the legendary pitcher is completely oblivious to the modern landscape of public backlash. He vividly warns his father of the toxic accusations of nepotism and favoritism they will face the moment a father-son duo takes the professional field. Taesung's simple, blunt response catches Yesung completely off guard, instantly cutting through his elaborate anxieties. Softly sighing, Yesung points out that professional baseball rarely conforms to even the most perfect plans. Scolding his son for being overly cautious, Taesung demands more youthful confidence, reminding him of the sheer drive that fueled his own journey. Yesung silently reflects on how his father's stubborn intensity, which once drove them apart, was actually the secret to his unparalleled greatness. Staring at the old family photographs, Yesung realizes his father is living this second life with a burning resolve to leave absolutely no room for regrets. And that fierce resolve manifests in extreme ways, starting with the arrival of Timothy, the world-class elite trainer flown in purely to catch Yesung's pitches. The towering giant immediately scoops Yesung into a crushing, friendly headlock, roaring with laughter at how much the young pitcher has grown. Supported by his formidable wife, Taesung seamlessly liquidates his vast American enterprises to focus entirely on their son's future. To Yesung's absolute bewilderment, his father imports millions in cutting-edge major league training equipment, complete with a team of elite foreign engineers to run it. The transition to a new training facility begins as Yesung is formally welcomed into a professional-grade preparation arena. Leaving the noise of the city behind, they make their way down to the quiet southern island of Jeoje. Tucked away in the serene hills, a state-of-the-art modern villa serves as their high-tech training fortress. Looking around the lavish property in absolute awe, Yesung wonders how his father managed to secure such a place. A confident, calculating smirk crosses the legend's face as he promises his son that this is where his true evolution begins. The grueling training starts immediately, with the titanic Timothy pushing Yesung to his absolute physical limits on the leg press. Shifting from raw strength to science, the elite team analyzes biomechanical data to master the crucial concept of ground reaction force. But Timothy cuts through the complex scientific jargon with a singular brute force philosophy: raw, explosive muscle power. Sweating and screaming through every agonizing lift, Yesung's training intensifies just as the professional baseball season officially draws to a close. With the season over, the Kangwon Miners shock the league by formally announcing the veteran Song Moon-jung as their head manager. Watching the public backlash and cynical online comments roll in, Yesung sighs, having fully anticipated this toxic fan reaction. Timothy suddenly towers over him, warning the young pitcher not to waste his precious energy on internet trolls. Throwing Yesung back into the grueling workouts, the giant trainer demands total, unwavering focus to secure his athletic future. Months fly by in a blur of sweat, and the first early winter snowfall blankly covers the towering GW Group headquarters. Inside, the newly appointed general manager, Jong Tae-hyun, enthusiastically welcomes the organization's fresh leadership team. Eager to start on the right foot, the young general manager proudly offers a major roster upgrade as an opening gift. He presents their top targets, a 2020 slugger and a formidable 16-win ace pitcher from the free agent market. As Tae-hyun praises these elite players as the absolute crown jewels of the market, the veteran manager listens in silent contemplation. Slapping his pen down, Tae-sung instantly kills the excitement, bluntly dismissing the highly coveted stars as lazy and gutless. The room instantly freezes as the general manager gapes in utter disbelief at the legendary pitcher's savage critique. Breaking the tense silence, manager Song wryly chuckles and points to his rebellious pitching coach as the source of the blunt remarks. Stuttering nervously, Tae-hyun desperately tries to defend his expensive, highly praised free agent targets. Tae-sung calmly slides forward a completely different list, suggesting two obscure players as far superior roster fits. Staring at the unfamiliar names, the bewildered general manager has absolutely no idea who these random athletes even are. Frantically typing on his laptop, Tae-hyun wonders if the legendary pitcher is playing some sort of elaborate practical joke. His heart completely stops as he pulls up the official database, dreading what he is about to discover. He gapes at their mediocre statistics, unable to comprehend why anyone would swap superstars for such literal nobodies. Sweating profusely, the general manager asks for clarification, only to be met with Tae-sung's cold, deadpan confirmation. Behind that unyielding, intense gaze lies a secret, calculating smirk that knows exactly how the future will unfold. In a modern game governed by cold numbers, every organization spends billions desperately trying to predict player trajectories. But while they rely on flawed projections, the legendary duo possesses the ultimate cheat code, absolute future knowledge. Yesung recalls the secret strategy meeting in their living room where his father had demanded a breakdown of the upcoming free agents. He remembers that the expensive 16-win ace would immediately suffer a season-ending injury after just a few games. Even worse, the star 2020 hitter would ruin his own career in a scandalous, highly publicized drunk driving arrest. Knowing these catastrophic downfalls are guaranteed, Yesung had meticulously scanned the league's roster to find the real hidden gems. Under his father's instruction, Yesung targeted undervalued players who would quietly blossom into dominant powerhouses. Back in the corporate suite, Representative Jo Woo-jin questions if this bizarre proposal is truly for performance and not just to save money. Turning with absolute, unshakable confidence, Tae-sung boldly challenges the executives to sit back and watch his vision succeed. The room falls into a quiet, tense standoff as the suits struggle to comprehend the sheer audacity of his plan. Manager Song jokingly cracks that if the pitching staff falls apart, Coach Seo will just have to step on the mound himself. A few days later, the scene shifts to the sun-baked, wind-swept fields of Arizona for the Miners' official spring training. Under the sweltering heat, the players stretch while whispering anxious warnings about Tae-sung's notoriously ruthless coaching style. The veterans groan in dread, realizing they are trapped under the most terrifying, high-pressure coaching trio in league history. Looking at the battery coach's colossal, muscular build, the catchers silently accept that their spring camp will be absolute hell. Watching them complain from the sidelines, manager Song scoffs at how easily the modern players lose their focus. The formidable head coach, Park Jung-gu, approaches with a menacing grin, asking how many players they should break and send home. Song gently scolds his intense head coach, reminding him that these are professional athletes, not fragile amateurs. But a chilling, deeply sinister smile spreads across the elderly manager's face as he muses about giving them freedom. While the rest of the exhausted team pants through brutal wind sprints, Yesung trains at an entirely different, isolated pace. Watching the young rookie outwork everyone, the coaches laugh in disbelief at the absolute lunatic of a player Tae-sung has unleashed. The relentless grind of spring training begins as coaches bark orders to keep the players moving. Singling out the out-of-shape bullpen pitcher, Yu Kang-oh, the coach demands he shed some weight immediately. Desperately trying to save face, Kang-oh nervously blames his sluggish pace on a nagging knee injury. Exploiting the excuse, the coach maliciously suggests that a runner with bad knees shouldn't be running. Before Kang-oh can celebrate his escape, the ruthless coach reveals a far more exhausting punishment. Banished to the pool, the miserable pitcher frantically swims laps under the coach's watchful eye. On the field, the grueling physical conditioning pushes the rest of the team to their absolute limits. Every second counts under the merciless ticking of the stopwatch, punishing those who fail to meet expectations. Under the brutal Arizona sun, the exhausted players are pushed to keep running without a moment's rest. Completely spent, the breathless athletes collapse onto the grass in a state of absolute physical defeat. Assessing their progress, Coach Tae-sung notes that while they are improving, they are still far from ready. The physical torture finally ends as the sharp call for the bullpen session echoes across the field. The sudden evaluation catches the pitchers off guard, sparking waves of anxious murmuring among the roster. Demanding their complete attention, Taesung outlines his strict plan to analyze their raw velocity and breaking control. Setting a tense stage, Taesung calls up the senior starting pitcher first to lead the evaluation. Stepping onto the mound, veteran pitcher Jung Han-sung wides up and unleashes his first throw. The ball thuds into the catcher's mitt, leaving the coaches immediately questioning the lackluster power behind it. Looking at the incredibly low velocity, the stunned assistant wonders if the radar gun is completely broken. The evaluation continues as the next pitcher throws, the heavy thud highlighting the team's inconsistent form. Foreign starter Donald Porter steps up next, firing a blistering fastball that instantly turns heads. Clocking in at a blazing speed, the assistant happily confirms the equipment is working perfectly after all. Meticulously recording the data, Taesung acknowledges Porter's impressive early season drive with quiet satisfaction. But the momentum is short-lived as the subsequent pitchers struggle heavily with their command and control. Pitcher after pitcher displays critical mechanical flaws, highlighting the massive gaps in the team's defensive arsenal. Even the injured Kangwon fails to impress, his sluggish delivery reflecting his poor physical conditioning. A wild pitch sails completely out of control, forcing the catcher to make a desperate leap. The ball clangs loudly against the metal screen, highlighting the chaotic state of the pitching staff. Rubbing his temples, manager Song sighs at the painful choice between wild velocity and weak control. Suddenly, an explosive pitch tears through the air, the sheer wind pressure violently blowing the coach's cap away. A stunned silence falls over the roster as the awestruck pitchers look on in absolute disbelief. The radar gun flashes a shocking speed, leaving the assistant coach completely paralyzed by what he sees. Completing his flawless, powerful follow-through, Yesung stands on the mound as the source of that devastating throw. The physical impact of his pitch leaves an undeniable lingering pressure hovering over the entire training field. Instantly, the familiar bitter whispers of favoritism and nepotism begin to ripple through the jealous players. They cynically attribute his undeniable talent solely to his famous bloodline, dismissing his hard work as pure luck. Overwhelmed by the pressure, Yesung mentally braces himself against the inevitable toxic comparison to his legendary father. Hiding his face behind his glove, he takes a deep, grounding breath to block out the noise. Stealing his resolve, Yesung focuses entirely on his mechanics, knowing any distraction will ruin his balance. With eyes burning with absolute determination, he begins his motion, ready to silence every single doubter. He unleashes another monstrous pitch, detonating into the glove with a force that shakes the catcher's arm. Nursing his stinging hand, the utterly terrified catcher wonders what kind of monster Yesung became over the winter. Yesung answers with yet another relentless fastball, a testament to the brutal training that forged his new body. Every muscle in his body strains, fueled by the memory of the agony that built this power. He remembers Timothy screaming for more reps, while his dramatic father humorously claimed his retirement depended on it. He remembers being relentlessly forced to lift weights by the giant trainer even while half asleep in his pajamas. Amidst the chaos, his mother proudly announced her new agent license, ignoring Yesung's desperate pleas to fire his trainer. Month after month, the high-tech villa became a winter fortress of sweat, pain, and relentless growth. Back on the mound, his pitch explodes with a thunderous crack, a physical manifestation of his agonizing preparation. Staring blankly at the radar gun, the assistant coach is left utterly speechless by Yesung's terrifying consistency. As the team watches in paralyzed awe, Taesung looks on with a fierce silent pride in his son's evolution. The rookie's overwhelming display leaves his teammates frozen, suddenly realizing the sheer scale of the talent standing before them. Burning with an intense, quiet passion, Yesung stands on the mound as the undeniable center of attention. Chuckling warmly, manager Song notes that the veteran pitchers better watch their backs if this rookie keeps outperforming them. Remaining deeply humbled despite his terrifying power, Yesung bows in respectful gratitude to his coaches. With a wide grin, the assistant coach marvels at the legendary bloodline, declaring that a tiger could only raise a fierce tiger cub. Deflecting the praise with a smug, knowing smile, Taesung claims he barely lifted a finger to help his son's rapid evolution. Yet, beneath the bright Arizona sun, the team harbors a harsh and unyielding culture of survival. In this brutal system, any athlete without a massive contract or management's favor is treated like a second-rate nobody. Suddenly, a sharp, thunderous echo cuts through the morning air, snapping Yesung out of his focused routine. Peering across the empty field, he catches sight of a lone figure desperately fighting to keep his career alive. Manager Song's lighthearted warning about feeling the pressure was far more literal than anyone could have anticipated. Driving the point home with chilling authority, Taesung immediately orders the out-of-shape pitcher, Bang Min-soo, to pack his bags and leave. A wave of sheer panic ripples through the roster as they witness a highly paid veteran get brutally demoted on the spot. Min-soo was once a 7 billion won national superstar, but his complete lack of discipline turned him into an overweight liability. The merciless roster purge continues, claiming 3 more victims who failed to meet Taesung's exacting high-stakes standards. Realizing no one is safe, a chilling sense of crisis drives the remaining veterans to push their bodies to the absolute limit. Amid the fear, the ambitious rookies find fierce motivation, realizing that empty roster spots mean a genuine shot at greatness. Watching the intense practice, Yesung knows a simple shakeup won't cure everything, but the stagnant culture has officially cracked. Approaching the bullpen, Yesung is deeply shocked to see the gaunt, utterly exhausted face of his fellow catcher Byungju. Byungju weakly claims his rapid weight loss is due to a new girlfriend, catching Yesung completely off guard. The punchline lands with painful clarity as Byungju reveals his new love interest is nothing but a cold, heavy barbell. Tears well up in his eyes as he laments that training under an MLB legend is dissolved into endless, agonizing weightlifting. Yesung chuckles at the dramatic display, prompting his exhausted friend to finally reveal the real reason for his visit. Lowering his voice, Byungju brings up Terry, a highly talented pitcher who has found himself completely isolated within the team. Unable to speak the language, Terry was completely ignored by everyone, forcing him to train in agonizing solitude to survive. Overcome with emotion, Byungju loudly blows his nose, deeply touched by Terry's unbreakable spirit and kind nature. Stepping closer, the emotional catcher reveals he has a major favor to ask of the rookie phenom. Since Yesung spent years living abroad, Byungju eagerly begs him to teach him how to communicate in English. He explains that mastering English is the only way to build chemistry with Terry and the rest of the foreign roster. Yesung dryly relents, agreeing to help on the condition that his overly affectionate teammate finally backs away. Flashy and confident, Yesung casually admits he can't picture Byungju speaking fluent English either, but is willing to try. Overjoyed, Byungju tackles him in a massive hug, leaving Yesung to wonder what kind of terrible reputation he possessed. Their brief moment of peace is instantly crushed as the monstrous trainer Timothy looms overhead to announce their next session. Dragged back to the Iron Paradise, Yesung screams in agonizing strain as Timothy enthusiastically demands absolute maximum effort. Through blood, sweat, and endless lifting, the grueling days of the first training camp rapidly draw to a close. But before the players can celebrate their survival, Taesung unleashes a massive, unexpected trial designed to test their limits. Under a blazing sun, the field explodes with competitive energy as players dive desperately to make spectacular catches. Stunned by the high-profile crowd, Yesung asks his father how he assembled such elite talent with a single call. A towering powerhouse steps into the batter's box, delivering a thunderous swing that sends a warning shot to everyone. With eyes locked onto the mound, the menacing batter exudes an overwhelming pressure, hungry to crush the rookie's spirit. Though labeled as minor league opposition, this hand-picked roster is packed with dangerously skilled, hungry competitors. Driven entirely by Taesung's immense global prestige, the opposing athletes bow in profound respect before the match begins. Over 2 exhausting days of doubleheaders, this intense practice series will serve as the final brutal evaluation. The air erupts with a violent crack as the first pitch explodes cleanly into the catcher's leather glove. Knowing his future rests on this very game, Yesung prepares to unleash his absolute full power on the mound. Observing the rookie's deadly composure, veteran starter Jung Han-sung silently acknowledges that the young prodigy is the real deal. The veteran wins leader Jung Han-sung curiously asks if Yesung intentionally replicates his fastball form for his breaking pitches. Yesung confirms the strategy, explaining that matching his release point makes his off-speed pitches completely indistinguishable to batters. Han-sung is deeply impressed, noting that such advanced tactical maturity is unheard of in standard first-year rookies. Silencing his doubters once again, Yesung fires a blistering pitch that tears through the air with unmatched ferocity. Sensing Yesung's raw potential, veteran Jung Han-sung offers a sudden, unexpected suggestion to learn a curveball. The proposal catches Yesung off guard, prompting him to remember Han-sung's legendary status as the nation's premier curveball master. Seizing the rare opportunity, Yesung bows deeply, eager to absorb wisdom from a true master of the craft. Smiling warmly at the rookie's humility, Han-sung gestures for the ball, ready to pass on his signature weapon. Demonstrating the subtle mechanics, the veteran explains how shifting his grip wider on the seam completely alters the ball's rotation. Yesung carefully adjusts his fingers, keeping his arm relaxed to avoid unnecessary strain, just as instructed. Releasing all tension, he unleashes the pitch with a fluid, effortless motion that defies his raw power. The ball cuts sharply through the air, plunging into the dirt with a devastating late-breaking drop. Shaken by the rookie's instant comprehension, Han-sung breaks into a nervous sweat at the jaw-dropping movement. Yesung sheepishly deflects the praise, nervously laughing it off as a stroke of pure beginner's luck. To prove it wasn't a fluke, he fires another pitch that carves a flawless, biting arc toward the plate. The catcher catches the nasty break, absolutely stunned that this is Yesung's very first time throwing the pitch. Yesung marvels at his glove, realizing the slight grip adjustment has completely transformed his pitch's trajectory. Declaring him graduated, Han-sung casually walks away, leaving a bewildered Yesung wondering if it's truly that simple. Turning back, the veteran assures him that while it needs refinement, its sheer deception is already game-ready. Unable to fully process his rapid growth, Yesung smiles nervously, trying to ground his racing thoughts. Meanwhile, the intense bullpen sessions roar on, the air thick with the violent popping of leather. Across the field, another pitcher completes a strong throw, earning enthusiastic nods from the watching coaching staff.
The coaches inform the veteran Jo Sung-gyu that he will be starting the day's evaluation match. Instructing the bullpen to give their all, Seong-yu prepares to face the formidable, hungry opposition.
Smirking under his cap, the proud veteran scoffs at the patronizing advice, refusing to be coddled like a rookie. Taking his place on the rubber, Seong-gyu winds up, determined to prove his worth on the big stage. In his mind, he flashes back to his youth, desperately begging a legendary teammate to teach him his unhittable breaking ball. He remembers staring at his raw, calloused hand, frustrated that his own pitches never possessed that deadly, late-breaking movement. Back then, a relaxed Taesung finally relented, offering the secret grip to silence his persistent Junya. Returning to the present, Seong-yu unleashes a majestic biting slider that paints the corner of the plate perfectly. Catching the return throw, he silently thanks his former mentor, whose teachings built his long-standing career. The umpire's booming voice echoes across the sun-drenched diamonds, signaling the official start of the high-stakes match. Watching intently from the dugout, Yesung notes the pressure on Seong-gyu to maintain his legendary form after the recent roster cuts. Despite the intense pressure, Sung-gyu's early command falters slightly, yielding a frustrating walk to the leadoff batter. He battles back fiercely, forcing a vicious swing that connects hard and tests the defense. With a final decisive strike, Sung-gyu sits the batter down, securing a massive, emotional strikeout. The dugout erupts in cheers, fueling the veteran's burning desire to secure his spot in the second training camp. Yesung applauds the clean inning, yet he can't help but worry about Seong-gyu's notorious history of chronic back pain. Denied the use of his lower body, the aging veteran is forced to rely entirely on his upper body to generate power. Yesung knows this structural strain means Sung-gyu's effectiveness will inevitably plummet as his pitch count climbs. Right on cue, a sudden flash of panic washes over the veteran's face as his physical limits catch up to him. Seizing on a hanging pitch, the powerful opposition batter unleashes a monstrous, violent swing that connects cleanly. The ball soars high into the Arizona sky, a beautiful but devastating arc that carries far beyond the outfield fence. Landing with the distant heavy thud, the home run instantly crushes the momentum Seong-gyu fought so hard to build. Silent disbelief grips the dugout as Yesung watches the veteran's dream of survival slip away in real time. Unable to overcome his physical decline, Seong-gyu is pulled early, having failed to survive the brutal second inning. The relief pitchers fare no better, surrendering run after run to solidify a devastating lopsided defeat in Game 1. Yet, amidst the gloom, a sudden bright ray of hope finally returns a smile to the head coach's grim face. Stepping onto the mound for Game 2, the towering foreign acquisition, Graham Donald Porter, commands immediate respect. Standing at a colossal 205 centimeters, Porter utterly dominates the hitters with devastating fastballs and sharp changeups. Yesung recalls how his father personally secured the giant's signature by promising to refine his pitches for an MLB return. Thanks to Porter's unhittable masterclass, the entire atmosphere of the dugout shifts from despair to fierce competitive energy. With the tide of the second game turning, the infield rallies together, determined to keep the defense absolutely flawless. Shifting their alignment, the outfielders drop back, braced to defend their hard-earned lead to the very last out. The defense shifts, but their focus instantly locks onto the batter's box where the opposition's most lethal slugger steps up. Standing tall on the mound, the massive Porter peers over his glove, his icy gaze locking onto his target. With a smooth, towering windup, the colossal pitcher drives forward, unleashing a fastball of absolute pure lightning. The power hitter reacts instantly, but his heavy swing only results in a sharp defensive ground ball. Moving with flawless instinct, the shortstop scoops up the ball and flips it cleanly to start the double play. Snapping the ball to first base, the defense completes the beautiful twin killing, shutting down any hope of an opposition rally. Walking off the field, Porter receives thunderous praise from his ecstatic teammates, completely shifting the dugout's energy. Before the next frame begins, the coaching staff informs Porter that his brilliant outing is officially over. The news catches the giant pitcher completely off guard since he was fully prepared to throw another dominant inning. The coach warmly reassures him, explaining that his dominant pitches have already proven everything they needed to see. Brimming with professional respect, Porter proudly salutes, happy to have executed his job to perfection. Still filled with competitive fire, the giant playfully begs his catcher to help him keep warming up in the bullpen. Watching the flawless performance, the assistant coach sighs in relief, feeling a decade's worth of accumulated stress vanish. However, the dramatic head coach clutches his neck in agony, his blood pressure spiking just thinking about the Game 1 disaster. Completely ignoring the comical meltdown, the calculating Taesung coolly notes that Porter's pitching is exactly what they needed. Insulted by Taesung's absolute lack of sympathy, the furious head coach throws a wild, dramatic punch at his superior. With effortless grace, Taesung slides out of the way, calmly shifting his focus back toward the field for their next test. The atmosphere grows electric as Yesung slowly walks onto the mound, ready to make his highly anticipated debut. Taking a deep, stabilizing breath, the rookie prepares to face the high-pressure stakes of his first professional practice game. He watches the rosin bag fall to the dirt, fully aware that this is no ordinary meaningless scrimmage. For a 20-year-old rookie, this high-stakes game is a brutal crucible where his professional survival is on the line. Looking toward the plate, Yesung smiles inwardly, deeply grateful to have the passionate Byungju catching his pitches. Sensing the raw power of the upcoming batter, the infielders loudly shout for the defense to drop back. Observing the nervous defensive alignment, Yesung notes how the previous game's brutal defeat still weighs heavily on their morale. Across the diamond, the opposing batters unleash terrifyingly violent practice swings hungry to crush the rookie's confidence. The tension peaks as the very power hitter who demolished Seongju in Game 1 steps menacingly into the batter's box. Crouching low, Byungju flashes a calculated finger signal, setting the strategy for their opening duel. Yesung nods in agreement, mentally preparing to paint the outside corner with a blistering low four-seam fastball. Winding up, Yesung takes comfort in the fact that neither he nor the batter possesses any prior data on each other. Lifting his leg high, he knows that in a battle of unknowns, the pitcher always holds the upper hand. With a sudden explosion of kinetic power, he fires a blistering fastball directly toward the heart of the plate. The ball tears through the air, completely freezing the batter as it explodes into the catcher's mitt. Byungju catches the devastating strike, his eyes wide with shock at the pitch's sheer, blinding velocity. The powerful hitter stands frozen in disbelief, stunned that a rookie dared to throw a fastball right down the middle. Yesung casually catches the return throw, silently smirking at the pure deception of his seemingly accidental location. In his mind, he smiles, knowing a true pitcher must remain shamelessly confident even when missing their exact spot. From the dugout, the head coach ecstatically cheers Yesung's fearlessness, while Taesung dryly points out it was actually a missed pitch. Instantly defensive of his brilliant son, Taesung fiercely warns the head coach never to trash his kid in his presence. On the mound, Yesung fires another absolute laser that forces a wild, desperate swing for a decisive strike two. The head coach beams at the blistering speed, but Taesung remains analytical, noting the batter's critical weakness in contact. Annoyed by Taesung's relentless critique, the head coach playfully covers his mouth to stop him from jinxing the spectacular momentum. Unbothered by the dugout antics, Yesung unleashes a flawless windup, his mechanics flowing as smooth as running water. He masterfully alters his delivery tempo, completely throwing off the powerhouse batter's internal timing. Twisting his upper body, Yesung perfectly hides the ball from view, leaving the hitter completely blind to the release point. With an explosive snap, Yesung fires a deadly two-seamer that jams the batter, securing an emphatic game-changing strikeout. The dugout erupts as the head coach watches in awe, deeply moved by the rookie's jaw-dropping tactical maturity. Staring down at his smoking glove, Byungju realizes Yesung's in-game pitches possess a terrifying gravity far beyond their practices. The umpire's loud voice echoes across the field, confirming another spectacular strikeout as the opposing hitter swings at empty air. Byungju winces slightly as the ball settles in his glove, marveling at the incredible bone-rattling heavy force of Yesung's throw. Meeting his catcher's stunned gaze, Yesung gives a confident nod, ready to completely dismantle the rest of the opposing lineup. Byungju realizes the rookie isn't blindly following signals. His sharp eyes reveal a deep, calculated understanding of every single pitch. The opposition batter unleashes a desperate swing, barely connecting to send a loud foul ball flying out of play. Crouching behind the plate, Byungju feels an unsettling sensation creep up his spine as he stares down the batter. On the mound, Yesung remains completely unbothered, his icy focus locked entirely on delivering the next crushing strike. Overwhelmed by the rookie's intense aura, the flustered hitter desperately calls for a timeout to catch his breath. Before the batter can even reset, Yesung executes a blistering compact slide step to completely disrupt his opponent's rhythm. The devastating pitch jams the batter completely, shattering his wooden bat into splintered pieces with a violent crack. Byungju watches in sheer awe, marveling at a rookie's audacity to utilize a complex slide step with empty bases to utterly dismantle the hitter's timing. Amidst booming cheers, Yesung quietly sighs in relief, silently thanking his luck since his early command actually felt slightly off target. The flashing scoreboard confirms yet another scoreless frame, sealing the rookie's masterful, high-stress debut inning. In the dugout, the head coach fiercely warns the analytical Taesung to stop downplaying his son's brilliant tactical choices. Walking back to the dugout, Yesung calmly tells himself that keeping a clean sheet for his first inning is a solid start. His veteran teammates warmly welcome him back, thoroughly impressed by the sheer movement and heavy weight of his young pitches. When the veteran catcher hints at his nearing retirement, Yesung quickly insists that the team still needs his leadership for a long time. With a hearty laugh, the catcher playfully slaps Yesung's shoulder, joking about his aching joints while basking in the rookie's incredible success. Eager to push his limits, Yesung enthusiastically asks to test his devastating two-seam fastball much more in the upcoming frame. Realizing a string of right-handed batters is coming up, the catcher happily agrees that it is the perfect opportunity to unleash it. Other veteran players join in on the praise, calling out to Yesung to acknowledge the sheer brilliance of his debut performance. Tapping hands with his teammates, Yesung politely expresses his gratitude while remaining entirely focused on the monumental challenges ahead. Despite their flawless defensive showing, Yesung senses an oddly heavy, stifled atmosphere lingering deep within the quiet dugout. Understanding that the devastating first-game defeat still crushes team morale, a close friend loudly tries to lift spirits by praising Yesung's dominance. On the field, the relief pitcher secures a much-needed strikeout to officially bring an end to the current half inning. With the rapid change of sides, Yesung barely has a single moment to catch his breath before heading back out. Offering a warm word of encouragement, the young rookie politely consoles his struggling senior teammate as they cross paths. However, the bitter veteran coldly ignores the gesture, walking past the rookie in silence as jealousy begins to fester within the roster. Yesung realizes that with roster cuts looming and veterans fighting for survival, a high school rookie stealing the spotlight is bound to breed deep resentment. Clenching his fist, he remembers the cruel whispers accusing him of only receiving opportunities due to his legendary father's influence. Shaking off the toxic noise, he exhales slowly, determined to focus entirely on his pure, unyielding passion for playing professional baseball. Stepping back onto the dirt, Yesung resets his mind, ready to silence every single doubter with his absolute dominance. Peering in, the rookie is momentarily taken aback as the catcher flashes a signal demanding a high-stress inside four-seam fastball. Though he initially wanted to test his two-seamer, Yesung decides to trust his elite catcher's deep strategic game plan. With absolute commitment, he fires a blistering heater that paints the inside corner beautifully, leaving the batter frozen for strike one. The powerhouse batter fumes, insulted by the rookie's immense confidence to challenge him directly with raw, unadulterated speed. Undeterred, Yesung delivers yet another explosive pitch, forcing the batter into a state of pure, anxious panic. Believing he is being mocked by a mere rookie, the furious slugger readies his bat, desperate to crush the next oncoming ball. The hitter unleashes a massive, violent swing, but only manages to connect with empty air as the ball tears past. The umpire bellows strike two, pushing the frustrated batter to the absolute brink of elimination. In the dugout, the dramatic head coach swoons with heart-shaped eyes, completely enamored by the rookie's dazzling display of raw talent. With the count firmly in their favor, Byungju signals for Yesung's lethal two-seamer to finally put the batter away. Preparing to wind up, Yesung feels a wave of calm wash over him, confident in his own lethal arsenal. He channels the memories of his father's peak years, drawing strength from the legendary legacy that runs through his veins. Armed with a flawless four-seam and a devastating two-seam fastball, Yesung is ready to orchestrate a pitching masterclass. The flustered hitter's mind races in absolute panic, unable to anticipate which deadly pitch is about to explode toward him. Even if his raw velocity isn't record-breaking, Yesung's unmatched movement and elite control make every throw look completely unhittable. To the blind hitter, the two-seamer looks identical to a standard fastball before suddenly executing a sharp, devastating break. The ball snaps violently into the catcher's leather glove, securing an absolutely magnificent strikeout. Just as Yesung envisioned, the opposing batters are left utterly helpless, crumbling under the weight of his deceptive elite pitching. The umpire's dramatic signal confirms another massive strikeout, completely silencing the opposition's bench. Trudging back, the defeated hitters frantically warn their teammates that the rookie's pitching motions are completely indistinguishable. Standing helpless in the box, the next batter stares down the mound in pure dread, entirely blind to the impending storm Yesung is about to unleash. The helpless batter panics, realizing Yesung commands both a blazing and a deceptively slow variation of his lethal two-seamer. With flawless mechanics, the young rookie completes his delivery, driving the final nail into the opponent's coffin. The batter barely makes contact, sending a desperate foul ball flying as scouts eagerly record the stunning velocity of his heavy pitch. Despite the loud crack of the bat, it is only another foul, putting the hitter in a devastating two-strike hole. Yesung effortlessly catches the return throw, his expression entirely neutral as he prepares to completely break the batter's spirit. Completely lost at the plate, the hitter desperately tries to find his timing while Yesung coldly calculates his final strike. Sensing his opponent's ultimate vulnerability, the rookie suddenly shakes off his catcher's sign, intending to unleash an unexpected surprise. Behind the plate, Byungju's eyes widen in sheer disbelief as he realizes the rookie has another deadly weapon hidden in his arsenal. Drawing upon his father's wise advice about utilizing surprise to catch batters off guard, Yesung confidently begins his windup. He releases the ball with a tight, snapping spin, letting it fly like an untamed arrow toward the plate. Watching the ball travel high and wide, the hitter initially scoffs, believing the rookie's pitch slipped completely out of his grip. But in a split second, gravity seems to warp as the ball violently breaks downward directly into the catcher's waiting mitt. Frozen in place, the terrified slugger can only stare in absolute shock as he realizes he was just fooled by a devastating curveball. The emphatic signal confirms another spectacular strikeout, sealing a masterpiece of pitch sequencing that leaves the opponents in total disarray. On the mound, the thrill of the breakthrough washes over Yesung, confirming that his experimental pitch worked absolutely perfectly. Deafening cheers erupt from the field as his teammates enthusiastically praise the rookie's astonishing high-level pitching display. Pulling the rookie into a celebratory embrace, his veteran teammate playfully accuses him of hiding his true world-class talent during regular practices. Before he can fully enjoy the praise, a commanding voice cuts through the celebration, calling Yesung back to reality. Yesung immediately straightens up, politely turning to face his legendary father who serves as the team's critical analyst. With a stern but caring expression, Taesung tells his son to put his warm jacket on to protect his valuable pitching arm. Handing down his final decision, Taesung calmly informs Yesung that his masterclass performance on the mound is officially over for the day. The sudden decision to pull the rookie after only 2 scoreless innings immediately sparks curiosity and shock within the dugout.
Sharing a subtle, knowing smile, Taesung confirms that Yesung has already proven his immense value beyond any shadow of a doubt.
The official scouting clipboard documents a flawless debut, recording 4 strikeouts and absolutely 0 runs allowed over 2 spectacular innings. Fueled by the defensive momentum, the team rallies to secure a resounding 5-2 victory, capped off by a majestic home run. The relentless spring camp schedule continues into the next day, with veteran pitchers stepping up to deliver their own dominant performances. Even with lesser velocity, the seasoned veterans masterfully dismantle opposing hitters through pristine command and pinpoint ball placement. In the final showcase match, the team's foreign ace Harold Bradshaw commands the field with an absolute masterclass of pitching dominance. Inspired by the raw sweep and movement of his seniors' pitches, Yesung silently vows to master even more advanced throwing techniques. With valuable lessons learned and immense progress made, the team boards their flight, officially concluding their intensive first spring camp. High above the clouds, Taesung slides a detailed analytical dossier into Yesung's hands, reviewing his stellar performance. Warning him about the meticulous scouting of domestic opponents in the next phase, Taesung proposes a highly strategic, deceptive plan. Yesung is caught off guard as Taesung suggests hiding his devastating two-seamer and curveball entirely until the regular season begins. The clever strategy is clear: trick the rivals into expecting a simple arsenal, only to unleash a hidden wave of pitches when the real games begin. Yesung is captivated by the sheer brilliance of the trap, realizing it will paint him as an entirely unpredictable threat on the mound. A confident, eager smirk plays on the rookie's lips, thrilled by the prospect of playing this high-stakes game of deception. Touchdown in Japan marks the start of the second camp, where an incredibly tense, hyper-focused atmosphere settles over the entire roster. The head coach desperately tries to project an aura of calm, repeating that minor practice results do not dictate their ultimate fate. However, his saintly patience completely evaporates the moment a player commits an amateur, inexcusable mistake on the field. Unleashing a dramatic red-faced tirade, the furious coach hilariously accuses the trembling player of actively raising his blood pressure to dangerous heights. Screaming about hired assassins and missed strikes, the coach's theatrical meltdown guarantees a brutal, grueling training session for the team. Watching the dramatic spectacle unfold from a safe distance, Yesung can't help but feel a lingering sense of concern for the coach's health. The seasoned veteran jokingly reassures him, claiming that the day the coach actually stops screaming at errors is the day they need to call an ambulance. Yet, a dark, heavy memory suddenly flashes in the veteran's mind, recalling a tragic moment from their painful past. Remembering how a rare moment of gentle forgiveness was immediately followed by a medical emergency, the veteran quickly urges Yesung to diffuse the coach's stress. Approaching silently, the rookie gently begins massaging the coach's incredibly stiff, tension-filled shoulders, startling him instantly. Realizing it is Yesung, the coach's anger melts away as the veteran chuckles, proud of the rookie's clever, stress-relieving tactic. Spotting them, Taesung dryly warns the coach not to overwork his son's precious pitching hands before slipping away to check on the roster. Later that evening, a deeply grateful Park Tae-gi approaches Yesung, warmly promising to treat him to an incredible meal back in Korea. Smiling sheepishly, the veteran admits Yesung's well-timed massage saved him from absolute ruin, leaving the rookie wondering if stress relief is now part of his official duties. As spring camp rages on, the fierce battle to secure a spot on the opening day roster intensifies. Watching from the sidelines, Yesung is astounded as his senior unleashes an absolute thunderbolt, clocking in at a blazing 154 kilometers per hour. Though the veteran pitcher managed 2 strikeouts with no runs, his frustrated expression reveals deep dissatisfaction over issuing 2 walks. Observing his father giving intense, personal guidance to the pitcher, Yesung realizes just how much effort Taesung is investing in his teammates' growth. But the grueling reality of professional baseball strikes instantly as a massive crack echoes through the stadium, sending the ball flying deep into the stands. Devastated by the crushing home run, the veteran slumps onto the bench, swearing in sheer exhausted frustration. Yesung gently reassures the disheartened senior, pointing out that his father's silence is actually a rare sign of quiet approval. Meanwhile, rival players gossip from afar, completely convinced that the rookie's game-day arsenal is limited to a simple 4-seam fastball and slider. Little do they know, Yesung is strictly adhering to his father's deceptive strategy, secretly perfecting his lethal 2-seamer and changeup in private training. Under the intense watch of the strength coach, the young rookie pushes his physical limits, screaming through a grueling weight session. Sprinting across the grass with heavy resistance, Yesung pours blood, sweat, and tears into building the ultimate athletic foundation. With the brutal winter training camp officially behind them, the team finally begins their long-awaited journey back to Chuncheon. As they drive, Taesung breaks the silence, asking his son if he feels ready for the high-stakes exhibition games right around the corner. With a confident smile, the legendary father asks if Yesung is truly prepared to conquer the entire KBO League. Startled by the sheer scale of the ambition, Yesung nervously wonders where his father draws such astronomical confidence from. Taesung simply chuckles, proudly declaring that being a living legend makes supreme confidence second nature. Smiling warmly, Yesung shakes his head, admitting he could never match the legendary shadow of his father. Flattered but proud, Taesung jokingly agrees that he is indeed on an entirely different level from mere mortals. Yesung humorously shuts down the teasing, playfully insisting that some impossible heights are simply meant to remain untouched. Feigning offense, Taesung scolds his son for tossing away his competitive fighting spirit so easily. Yesung counters with a smirk, claiming he is merely a highly realistic son who knows his exact boundaries. The car rolls smoothly along the scenic road, carrying the father and son toward a well-deserved homecoming. Turning serious, Taesung softly advises his son that a pitcher's mindset actively shapes both their present and their ultimate destiny. He reveals that his own legendary career in the major leagues was built on endlessly gaslighting himself into believing he was the best in the world. Breaking the heavy atmosphere with a grin, Taesung asks if his son is finally impressed by his fatherly wisdom. Seizing the serious moment, Yesung holds up a baseball, eagerly asking his father to teach him the highly advanced sweeper. Surprised, Taesung explains that a sweeper's unique mechanics are intensely personal, making it impossible to teach through simple theory. Yesung playfully teases his father, accusing him of hiding behind complex explanations because he simply cannot throw the pitch himself. Annoyed, Taesung launches into a highly technical lecture about aerodynamics just as they pull up to their house. Their comedic banter is instantly cut short as a warm, overjoyed voice welcomes the young rookie back home. Swept into a loving, fierce embrace, Yesung beams with joy while his father is hilariously ignored in the background. Fretful over her son's supposedly thin frame, Yesung's mother ushers him inside to feast on his favorite braised short ribs. Left entirely behind on the driveway, the legendary analyst stands in the cold, quietly muttering that he loves short ribs too. Meanwhile, the national sports headlines explode with news of the Busan Stars dominating their spring training opener. In the Miners' locker room, the players scroll through social media, noting how incredibly loud and boastful the rival fans have already become. Outfielder Kim Jae-bom looks at his phone in confusion, surprised by the sudden influx of chaotic comments on their own team's articles. At the Miners' home stadium, a massive crowd gathers for a highly anticipated fan signing event featuring the legendary Taesung. Adoring fans line up eagerly, expressing their deep honor at meeting the legend, who politely reminds them he is now a coach. Smiling warmly, Taesung happily poses for a classic selfie with an excited jersey-clad fan. But the crowd's infectious energy keeps the atmosphere electric as more fans crowd around to capture a precious memory with the star. Watching the massive turnout, onlookers marvel at the legend's enduring popularity, noting that he still commands the crowd like an active player. But skeptics in the hallway whisper darkly, wondering if the struggling Miners will be forced to put the aging coach back on the mound. Up in the stands, critical fans dismiss Yesung's potential, scoffing that a high school draftee shouldn't expect to survive the brutal professional league. Hearing the harsh dismissive murmurs from the crowd, Yesung is fueled by a sudden intense surge of quiet fury. Standing on the practice mound, he channels that rage, firing a ferocious practice pitch straight into the target. Yet, looking down at his hand, the rookie frowns, frustrated that his attempts to throw a devastating sweeper still feel like a standard slider. Suddenly, a deep, commanding voice interrupts his thoughts, pulling his attention away from his internal struggle. Towering over him, the foreign ace Harold Bradshaw demands to know exactly what the rookie is trying to achieve with that flawed pitch. Before he can answer, the cheerful catcher approaches, playfully asking Yesung if he knows why their rivals are called the Stars. Breaking the high-stakes tension with a goofy grin, the catcher jokes that it is because their entire roster is completely so-so. Yesung stands frozen, completely speechless as the catcher's bizarre exclamation hangs awkwardly in the air. Incredulous, the rookie coughs violently, utterly baffled by the absolute absurdity of his senior's logic. Laughing heartily, the eccentric catcher embraces Yesung, playfully admitting his antics were just a way to ease the rookie's mounting tension. Handing over the scouting report, the catcher grows serious, warning him of the rival lineup's devastating 25-hit performance yesterday. With a confident thump to his chest, the catcher promises to guide Yesung through their relentless aggressive attack step by step. Reading the highly detailed report on the Busan Stars, Yesung prepares to face their explosive, unstoppable offensive momentum. Standing tall on the mound under the blazing sun, the young rookie prepares to deliver his first official pitch. With an explosive burst of power, a blistering fastball tears through the air, completely freezing the helpless batter. The stadium radar guns explode with a shocking 155 kilometers per hour, immediately setting the internet ablaze with disbelief. The desperate batter swings wildly, completely failing to catch up to the sheer velocity of the pitch. With a thunderous pop, the ball slaps clean into the catcher's mitt, leaving the offense totally defenseless. The umpire's loud declaration of strike three cements a brilliant debut that absolutely silences the rival team. Walking off the mound, Yesung quietly processes his incredible performance of 9 strikeouts over 5 scoreless innings. Reflecting on his initial pre-game nerves, Yesung realizes just how crucial his catcher's playful support was to his success. Though the senior's promise of a gentle approach turned into 3 consecutive innings of straight heaters, Yesung cannot deny the results. Removing his mask with a grin, the veteran playfully accuses the rookie of lying about his young age. Yesung suddenly freezes mid-step, a wave of realization washing over him at his senior's unexpected praise. He recalls that this particular style of teasing is a rare honor reserved only for players the catcher deeply respects. Watching the senior walk away, Yesung marvels at how this warm camaraderie never existed in his lonely, tragic previous life. In the press room, the flashing cameras capture a beaming head coach basking in the glory of their stunning victory. A sharp reporter quickly presses him about his controversial decision to bench their massive multi-million-dollar free agent acquisitions. The coach flatly dismisses the criticism, reiterating his strict starter hierarchy led by their elite foreign aces. With unwavering conviction, he points forward and boldly announces Yesung as their official fourth starting pitcher. The media room erupts into chaotic murmurs, with skeptics fiercely questioning if it is too early for a rookie starter. But the headlines are already set. Yesung is officially poised to make his highly anticipated professional debut. Back on the practice field, Yesung eagerly asks the formidable foreign ace Harold Bradshaw to evaluate his brand new sweeper. Holding his head in utter exasperation, the seasoned ace ruthlessly criticizes the rookie's horribly flawed, trash-tier pitch mechanics. The sudden, harsh critique immediately draws the curious gaze of their tall, quiet teammate Terry. Yesung suddenly remembers that Terry has also been tirelessly trying to perfect the exact same elusive sweeper grip. Stepping forward, Terry introduces himself as Bradshaw's fellow trainee, bonding over their shared struggle with the difficult pitch. Bradshaw gets down to business, explaining that a proper sweeper is simply a slider thrown with a precise two-seam grip. Examining the baseball closely, Yesung mentally rehearses the subtle shift in finger placement required for the throw. He unleashes a fiery pitch, but the veteran ace watches the ball's rotation with a highly critical eye. Reaching out to physically adjust the rookie's forearm, Bradshaw commands him to throw it with the sweeping motion of a curveball. Processing the abstract advice, Yesung visualizes the hybrid movement and prepares to adjust his release point.
Bradshaw barks out final instructions, telling him to cover the home plate with his palm before snapping his wrist across.
Grateful for the invaluable wisdom, Yesung playfully calls him professor, silently noting the ace's unique, rough charm.
As the exhibition season continues, the newspapers herald the Miners' impressive, unexpected streak of back-to-back victories.
Yet the mercurial head coach remains impossible to please, complaining about the team's habits whenever they suffer a defeat. Paradoxically, even when they win, he loudly barks that meaningless practice matches do not guarantee success in the regular season. Meanwhile, senior pitcher Partegi jokingly warns the roster that anybody pitching worse than him should start packing their bags. Inspired by the friendly rivalry, a fierce competitive spirit engulfs the squad, packing the practice bullpen with determined players daily. Resting on the grass, however, Yesung senses a growing palpable tension from teammates who now view him as a threat. His quiet contemplation is interrupted by his supportive catcher, who notes the electric, high-stakes atmosphere surrounding the field. With a knowing, serious look, the veteran catcher acknowledges the intense pressure starting to build around them. Looking out at the grand stadium, they prepare for a hostile environment that rivals the chaotic pressure of the championship series.
The flags of the legendary Busan Stars fly high, representing the most fiercely passionate baseball city in the entire nation.
Later, reviewing the player statistics, Yesung notes that despite their stellar pitching, their offensive lineup remains dangerously weak.
Recognizing the glaring issue, Taesung suggests a high-stakes trade to sacrifice some pitching depth for a powerful, reliable bat.
Intrigued by the strategic move, the team's general manager agrees, immediately setting his sights on the Busan Stars elite slugger. Deep down, the general manager had already prepared himself for a flat rejection from the rivals.
But a sudden, highly unexpected counterproposal catches him completely off guard.
Stunned by the unbelievable terms, he frantically demands to know if this is some kind of cruel joke. Taesung reassures him with absolute seriousness, naming their prime acquisition target, the rising star, Lee Seung-ben. This powerhouse outfielder is fresh out of military service, boasting incredible speed and a phenomenal batting average. Despite his undeniable talent, he remains a backup on their rivals' stacked and overcrowded outfield roster. But securing such a highly valued weapon means sacrificing one of their own precious pitching assets. The offered bait is their former first-round draft pick, a high-velocity pitcher whose raw power is finally turning heads. Knowing the Stars desperately need bullpen depth, Taesung has carefully groomed this young talent to be the perfect trade piece. Yet parting with a former top prospect is a massive gamble that leaves the general manager deeply hesitant. Taesung remains confident, recalling a crucial conversation that occurred just 1 week earlier. In a private moment, Yesung had instantly recognized the name of the outfielder his father was targeting. Drawing from his memories of a tragic previous life, Yesung knows this trade is a steal, as Lee Seung-bin is destined to become a Golden Glove winner. Overwhelmed with gratitude and relief, the general manager literally weeps, hugging his senior in absolute adoration. Powered by Taesung's aggressive negotiation, the blockbuster trade goes through in a flash, stunning the entire league. Immediately upon joining the team, the newly acquired outfielder begins tearing up the field with explosive hits and flawless base steals. Conversely, the traded pitcher struggles immensely on his new team, sending rival fans into a frenzy of instant regret. As the high-stakes exhibition season officially draws to a close, the final league standings begin to solidify. Yesung puts up highly competitive numbers, solidifying his presence with 15 solid innings on the mound. But a few costly mistakes against a powerhouse opponent remind him that a single hanging pitch can ruin a perfect outing. On cue, sports commentators dissect his performance, claiming the young rookie is still one crucial pitch away from true greatness. Critics analyze his predictable pitch distribution, declaring him unready to hold down a permanent spot in the starting rotation. Little do they know, Yesung is intentionally holding back, keeping his ultimate weapon hidden until the perfect moment. In the quiet of the bullpen, a thunderous pop in the catcher's mitt confirms his devastating progress. Amazed by the rising movement, the catcher eagerly calls for the next variation of his evolving arsenal. With every explosive throw, the rookie sharpens his command, slowly transforming into an unhittable force. Fueling his ambition, the veterans push Yesung through grueling training sessions to forge a body capable of elite competition. Day after day, they run themselves to the absolute limit, pouring blood and sweat into every single drill. Finally, a wave of anxious silence sweeps through the locker room as the official opening day roster is posted. Suddenly, an explosive roar of pure disbelief shatters the tension, sending a phone flying into the air. The breaking sports headlines confirm the massive news: the young rookie has officially made the starting lineup. Yesung tries to quiet his ecstatic teammates, wary of boasting in front of veteran players who might have been cut, but his warnings are completely ignored as his overjoyed friends ambush him in a wild celebratory tackle. Bound by their shared struggle, the young players leap for joy, having survived the brutal roster cuts together. Their dreams are finally within reach as they prepare to conquer the elite professional league as a united front. Later that night, the noisy celebration spills over, disturbing the peace of a familiar, quiet neighborhood. Seeking a safe haven from prying eyes, the friends gather around a warm backyard bonfire to wind down. Beaming with excitement, Byungju swings his bat, determined to unleash his full power the moment he steps on the field. The seasoned veteran Bradshaw gruffly grumbles, urging the excited rookies to go home before they disrupt his strict routine. But something about their unyielding, fiery passion causes the veteran to suddenly pause in deep reflection. Yesung playfully distances himself from his friend's wild antics, leaving them hilariously offended by his sudden betrayal. Exasperated by their endless, chaotic banter, Bradshaw lets out a long, heavy sigh of resignation. Turning his intense gaze toward the flickering flames, the ace's tone shifts to one of quiet seriousness. The sudden shift in atmosphere immediately captures the attention of the quiet giant trainee Terry.
Terry speaks honestly, admitting that baseball is the only life they have ever known since childhood.
Bradshaw's piercing eyes search for their true motivation, demanding a deeper answer from the young slugger. Breaking the heavy silence, the energetic rookie flashes a brilliant, fearless smile of pure ambition. With absolute, unwavering certainty, Byungju boldly declares his ultimate dream of reaching the major leagues. Intrigued, the formidable foreign ace slowly turns his intense gaze toward Yesung, demanding to hear his ultimate goal. Staring at his screen, Yesung feels a familiar wave of pressure wash over him as he prepares to answer. Excusing himself from the celebratory noise, Yesung quietly slips away, leaving his confused teammates wondering what could possibly be wrong. In his previous life, he was relentlessly hunted by the media, dismissed as nothing more than a talentless shadow of his legendary father. Even during the exhibition season, the toxic comments and sports commentators mocked his dream, demanding he be sent down to the minor leagues. Though Yesung is long accustomed to the cruel insults, the sudden tide of public backlash is different this time. The poisonous criticisms are no longer aimed solely at him, they are tearing directly into his father's hard-earned legacy. Walking home through the quiet night, his phone vibrates relentlessly with incoming calls and breaking news alerts. Sensing the growing storm, an anxious teammate desperately tries to reach him, demanding to know why he isn't answering. Yesung sighs at the exhausting sensationalism of the sports press, though his real worry lies with how his proud father is handling the slander. Unlike Yesung, his father is a titan of the sport who has never known the bitter taste of public failure or ridicule. Fearing the worst, Yesung bursts through the front door, his heart pounding as he calls out for his father. But the sight waiting for him inside catches him completely off guard, instantly freezing him in his tracks. Sitting calmly on the sofa, Taesung looks up from his laptop with an unbothered casual greeting. With a confident smile, the veteran tells his son that true greatness always attracts jealous chatter, advising him to ignore the noise. He passionately recalls his own brutal reception in the major leagues, where critics constantly prayed for his downfall after every single mistake. Gesturing wildly, the legendary pitcher commands Yesung to aggressively bark back at the media, leaving the rookie sweating at the absurd advice. Soon, at a packed press conference, eager reporters press the team for their thoughts on who their biggest rivals will be. Without a single shred of hesitation, the head coach boldly names their fiercest opponents, instantly setting the entire league ablaze with anticipation. As the regular season officially explodes into action, the Miners secure a breathtaking, dramatic opening day victory. The stadium erupts into pure chaos as a base runner rounds third, charging desperately toward home plate. With a spectacular slide, the runner breaks the scoreless deadlock, snatching a crucial, hard-fought lead in the late innings. The rival team fights back fiercely, sending a terrifyingly deep fly ball soaring into the open sky. But a heroic, leaping catch at the wall saves the game, leaving their relief pitchers screaming in absolute triumph. Behind the scenes, Taesung's tactical genius is praised as he stubbornly refuses to make a standard pitching change. Taking advantage of the momentum, the Miners' offense unleashes a devastating explosive hit that completely crushes the ball. The risky managerial decision pays off brilliantly, sending a game-winning shot deep over the left fielder's head to seal the comeback. Instantly, the volatile media flips their script, hailing Taesung as a mastermind who has completely transformed the franchise. Yet, the very next game brings a crushing bullpen collapse, instantly bringing the fickle critics crawling back to attack his coaching limits. Scrolling through the toxic headlines from his bed, Yesung marvels at his father's incredibly bulletproof mental strength. His admiration only grows when his father sends a detailed scouting report, gruffly telling him to stop worrying and get some sleep. Sure enough, Taesung's masterclass management pays off the next day as their pitcher completely shuts down a powerhouse offense. Unleashing his full power on the mound, Terry prepares to throw a blistering high-velocity pitch. With a thunderous fastball, Terry blows past the opposition's dangerous slugger to secure an electric strikeout. The internet explodes with championship dreams, wildly praising Taesung for uncovering these hidden pitching gems. Inside the strategy room, the coaching staff carefully dissects the opponent's lineup to construct the perfect pitching rotation. Suiting up for battle, Yesung's supportive teammates assure him they will protect the lead no matter what happens in the later innings. Analyzing the data, the team's analyst walks Yesung through the precise trajectory of his evolving pitch arsenal. He explains how Yesung's deadly slider breaks perfectly in front of the star's aggressive level sweep pots. Buoyed by the strategist's ultimate encouragement, Yesung realizes that everyone around him is fighting to see him succeed. Though he silently grumbles about the insane pressure of throwing 8 innings in his debut, a fire ignites within him. Remembering that his legendary father threw a complete game in his own debut, Yesung unleashes a fierce practice pitch. The ball explodes into the catcher's mitt with a violent pop, showcasing a devastating, lively movement. Stunned by the incredible force behind the rookie's throw, Yesung pauses to inspect the mechanics of his release. Observing from the plate, the veteran catcher is deeply awed by the rookie's cool, unbothered focus under immense pressure. Bending down, Yesung firmly ties his cleats, preparing to step onto the grand stage of his destiny. Taking a final steadying breath, he mentally prepares for the monumental battle ahead, determined to make history. The stadium speakers blare his name, and a thunderous roar shakes the crowd as the rookie finally steps onto the field. Standing tall on the mound, Yesung faces his first professional batter, ready to prove he is worthy of his father's legendary legacy. Outside the bustling stadium, hordes of passionate fans flood through the gates, eager to witness the historic matchup. Among the crowd, skeptical rival fans eagerly gossip, predicting that the rookie will be completely crushed under the pressure. But a loyal Miners fan fiercely retorts, reminding them that the legendary kid is about to shock the entire baseball world. In the lively crowd, 2 elderly men in matching jerseys walk side by side, drawing curious looks from nearby spectators. Despite wearing identical nameplates, their rival gear exposes a hilarious, decades-long battle of team loyalties. The grandpas bicker endlessly, with one grumbling about being dragged out when they could have watched the debut from home. They stubbornly debate which elite franchise their superstar grandson will inevitably sign with in the future. Approaching the towering, historic gates of Sajik Stadium, their playful squabbling is drowned out by the electric atmosphere of the crowd. High in the broadcasting booth, commentators enthusiastically welcome viewers to Game 2 of this highly anticipated rivalry series. The announcers quickly point out the Miners' revitalized offense, which already looks vastly superior to previous seasons. Recapping the top of the first, they marvel at how the leadoff batter fearlessly endured a painful hit-by-pitch to get on base. With smart, disciplined execution, the next hitter drives a clean single, advancing the runner into scoring position. A deep, calculated sacrifice fly brings the runner home, establishing an incredibly efficient and early lead for the Miners. Knocking the opponent's starting pitcher completely out of rhythm, the Miners aggressively secure a commanding 2-run lead of the first. Despite the early deficit, the packed stadium of rival fans erupts as their team prepares to mount a fierce comeback. Analyzing the upcoming matchup, the commentators note that the rookie's limited 2-pitch repertoire has already been thoroughly scouted. The tension reaches a boiling point as the Stars' formidable leadoff hitter steps confidently into the batter's box. Known across the league for his deadly combination of power and explosive speed, the hitter presents a terrifying threat. Standing tall under the bright stadium lights, Yesung takes a deep, steadying breath to quiet the overwhelming noise of his professional debut. Suddenly, a chilling wave of intense pressure washes over the young rookie, filling his lungs with cold, anxious air. Looking on for the sign, Yesung's eyes widen as his veteran catcher flashes a surprisingly bold pitch signal. Shocked by the call, Yesung internally questions starting off against such a dangerous slugger with a breaking slider. Behind the plate, the catcher calculatedly targets the batter's aggressive nature, knowing he loves to chase early pitches. He telepathically urges the nervous rookie to trust his stuff and bury the pitch just outside the strike zone. Hiding his face behind his glove, Yesung struggles to regain his composure as the gravity of the moment bears down on him. He reaches deep into the leather, attempting to lock in his fingers around the seams of the baseball. Panic sets in as his palms slick with nervous sweat, causing him to momentarily blank on his critical slider grip. Sensing his rookie's paralyzing tension, an encouraging teammate yells from the dugout, telling him to relax and throw freely. Yesung glances over his shoulder at the scoreboard, reminding himself that his team has already given him a comfortable safety net. Resolving to let his pitch fly, he accepts the risk, knowing that even a home run wouldn't erase their hard-earned lead. At the plate, the aggressive batter locks his focus onto the mound, coiled like a spring and ready to unleash a devastating swing. Beginning his windup, the rookie pitcher shifts his weight and drives his leg high with explosive force. With a violent whip-like arm action, Yesung hurls the ball forward, pouring every ounce of his strength into the release. But to the catcher's horror, the ball fails to break, sailing directly over the heart of the plate as a dangerous, fat pitch. Seeing the mistake, the batter aggressively unleashes a ferocious, lightning-fast swing to punish the hanging ball. A deafening crack echoes through the stadium as the ball is launched in a blistering, direct line right back at the mound. Yesung freezes in terror, realizing the sweat on his hand caused the ball to slip disastrously at the worst possible second. But in a miraculous display of pure instinct, he sticks out his glove to snag the rocket and fires it to first base. The broadcasting booth explodes in absolute awe, praising the high school rookie's superhuman reflexes under such terrifying pressure. Keeping the pressure on, the next batter aggressively hacks at another first-pitch slider, desperate to break the rookie's rhythm. But his solid contact is effortlessly neutralized as the ball sails straight into the waiting glove of the second baseman. Walking back to the dugout in bitter frustration, the retired batter mutters angrily about failing to anticipate another early slider. Still breathing heavily on the mound, Yesung realizes his heart is pounding, but the intense heat of battle begins to feel natural. The third batter lines another dangerous shot back up the middle, testing the rookie's defensive capabilities once more. With another jaw-dropping, lightning-fast reaction, Yesung snatches the ball out of midair, concluding a historic first inning of his debut. Walking back to the dugout, Yesung lets out a massive sigh of relief, realizing his wild accidental pitches were salvaged by the opponent's overeagerness. The baffled rival batters gossip amongst themselves, convinced that the cunning rookie is playing a highly sophisticated mental game with them. They mistakenly attribute the brilliant pitch sequencing to the veteran catcher's strategic genius, completely unaware of Yesung's slip-ups. Meanwhile, the opposing manager stands frozen in sheer disbelief as fans online tear into his team's impatient, disastrous batting approach. The momentum swings wildly as the Miners' subsequent offensive turn is quickly snuffed out by a dominant pitching response. With no time to rest, Yesung makes his way back to the mound, determined to defend their fragile lead. Holding on to a tense 2-run lead, both teams brace themselves for a grueling, high-stakes battle of endurance. Under the glowing sky, the colossal stadium reverberates with the thunderous, unifying roars of thousands of passionate fans. The electric roar of the crowd reaches a fever pitch as the announcer introduces the next batter. Stepping into the batter's box is the Star's absolute icon, the legendary powerhouse Baek Jung-um. On the mound, Yesung freezes, staring down the man who was once his ultimate nemesis. Memories of his tragic past life flood back, reminding him of how this giant utterly destroyed him. He vividly recalls the humiliating internet comments mocking him as Jung-won's personal RBI fridge. At the plate, Jung-won offers a polite greeting, but the veteran catcher remains ice-cold and unresponsive. Adjusting his helmet, the veteran slugger locks in, radiating a suffocating predatory aura. Every eye in the stadium is glued to the legendary hitter as he raises his bat. Yesung feels a familiar shiver run down his spine under the weight of his gaze. The broadcasters marvel at the deafening noise, a pressure unlike anything the young rookie has ever faced. Yesung hides his face in his glove, questioning why he was always so helpless against this man. But as the crowd's chant shakes the stadium, a spark of defiance ignites within his chest. Refusing to let history repeat itself, he sharpens his gaze, ready to defy his bitter fate. Exhaling slowly, Yesung prepares to face the sheer, crushing pressure of the league's top hitter. Across from him, Jung-woon stands poised like a coiled spring, ready to crush any mistake. Yesung notes how even his normally talkative veteran catcher is completely silent, entirely focused on the threat. Realizing his seasoned teammate is hyper-aware of the danger, Yesung grips the ball with absolute resolve. Looking down for the sign, he is surprised to see a call for a high outside fastball. In his past, Yesung would have stubbornly insisted on a reckless head-on challenge with every batter. But he is no longer that weak pitcher. He is ready to play a smarter game. With a fierce windup, Yesung unleashes a blazing fastball that Jung-won aggressively hacks at. A sharp crack echoes as the ball flies straight back into the netting for a foul. The radar guns flash a blistering 152 kilometers per hour, securing a vital first strike. Amused by the rookie's boldness, Jim Will cracks a confident smile and lightheartedly mutters to the catcher. Behind the mask, Bangwon acknowledges the rookie's grit, noting his respectful yet fearless composure. Jung-won grips his bat, finding the rookie's sheer audacity highly entertaining. Yet, the veteran knows that a few hard hits will inevitably send any rookie packing. Noticing the hitter shifting to the back of the box, the catcher instantly decodes his strategy. Sensing the perfect moment, Bangwon signals to Yesung that it is time to unleash their secret weapon. With a subtle nod, Yesung prepares to reveal the deadly pitch they had kept hidden away. Shifting his weight, the rookie drives his foot into the dirt and explodes forward. He releases the ball with perfect extension, sending it hurtling toward the plate.
Young Moong tracks the ball, anticipating a dead-center fastball right for a devastating drive. But as he commits to his swing, the ball suddenly and violently plunges out of the strike zone. Fooled completely by the late sinking movement, the powerful batter swings wildly through empty air. The stadium erupts in disbelief as the superstar slugger falls into a dangerous two-strike hole. High in the standing, the commentators scramble to identify the mysterious, defying trajectory of the pitch. Catching his breath as stunned Jung Wong stares back at the mound, completely shaken by the drop. He realizes the rookie must have developed a secret weapon and neutralized his aggressive approach. He marvels at the insane guts of a rookie willing to test an unrefined pitch against him. Blocking out the roaring stadium, Yesung centers his breathing, entirely locked into the zone. He reminds himself of how ruthlessly this batter used to hammer him in his past life. Jung Woong smiles, genuinely impressed that a mere rookie has forced him to remember his name. But the veteran quickly refocuses, determined to show the kid why he's a living legend. He mentally dissects Yesung's pitching mechanics, timing the exact moment the glove rises. But as Yesung begins his motion, his leg unexpectedly drives forward, completely shattering the hitter's timing. Panic strikes Jung Woong's eyes as he realizes he has been completely outmaneuvered. The ball streaks past his frozen bat and explodes violently into the catcher's leather glove. A breathless silence hangs over the field for a split second as everyone awaits the call. Strike three! Yusum roars in triumph, securing an iconic three-pitch strikeout against the league's most feared giant. The legendary hitter can only look on in absolute shock, his devastating swing completely dismantled by the rookie's pitch. Flabbergasted, the opposing batter can't help but confess to the catcher that the young pitcher is the real deal. Back on the mound, a surge of adrenaline rushes through Yesung as he realizes his lethal secret weapon actually worked. It is the very same changeup that once propelled him to the legendary status of a 20-win pitcher in his past life. Watching from the dugout, his manager and father looks on silently, harboring his own deep calculations about the game's progression. He knows that a powerhouse hitter like Jung Wong is far too clever to fall for the same trick twice. Yet Yesung can't help but feel a swell of pride after executing his first-ever three-pitch strikeout against his ultimate nemesis. Keeping his foot firmly on the gas, Yesung fires another devastating pitch to strike out the dangerous 4-home-run slugger. Up in the broadcast booth, the commentators are left utterly speechless by the baffling late movement on his blistering fastballs. Even his veteran catcher is left entirely in the dark, wishing he could ask the rookie how he conjured such a pitch. The relentless onslaught continues as the next batter eagerly lunges at the first pitch, only to pop it up weakly. With 3 flawless innings in the books, the scoreboard paints a picture of absolute dominance from the rookie prodigy. Furious at their team's pathetic display, the opposing fans erupt in a chorus of hostile boos and angry demands. Standing in the eye of the storm, Yesung remains perfectly calm amidst the deafening jeers raining down from the stands. He understands the immense passion of the opposing crowd, knowing that their fierce loyalty can quickly turn into a double-edged sword. That stifling pressure often suffocates the opposing players, wrapping them in a tight grip of anxiety. Feeling stronger with every throw, Yesung confidently sets his sights on going deep into the later innings. But the game of baseball is never simple, and the opposing batter finally manages to make solid contact. Panic flashes in Yesung's eyes as he watches the ball soar, praying it doesn't find a gap. His worst fears are realized as the ball drops perfectly between the outfielders for a frustratingly lucky hit. Seeing the runner celebrate on first base, a chill runs down Yesung's spine as he remembers why he dreaded this stadium. He knows that these hostile fans can instantly turn a tiny spark of hope into an unstoppable wildfire. The stadium erupts into a thunderous chant, the terrifying roar of the crowd threatening to swallow the young pitcher whole. With the runner threat active, the announcer declares that the opposing team is finally ready to mount a fierce counterattack. The deafening chants echo across the field, putting the rookie's mental fortitude to the ultimate test. Yesung takes a deep breath, acknowledging the suffocating pressure that has broken countless rookies before him. On first base, the runner prepares to steal, creeping further and further away from the safety of the bag. Yesung subtly notes the runner's overeager leadoff, a quiet trap beginning to form in his mind. Fanning a pitch home, he suddenly spins around and fires a laser-like throw directly to first base. The stadium gasps in shock as the runner desperately lunges back to the bag in a panic. In a flash of leather and dirt, the first baseman applies a brutal lightning-fast tag on the sliding runner. A stunned silence blankets the crowd as the home fans watch their momentum evaporate in an instant. The umpire vigorously pumps his fist, declaring the runner out to extinguish the threat. Yesung pumps his fist in triumph, reminding himself that there is a razor-thin margin between confidence and foolish arrogance. Back in the opposing dugout, the furious manager screams at his base runner for his brainless, costly mistake. Yesung adjusts his cap with a knowing smirk, fully aware that his decades of veteran experience gave him the upper hand. He understands that this emotional team is incredibly sensitive to sudden shifts in momentum. After the successful pickoff, the fiery energy of the opposing dugout is instantly frozen solid like ice. Capitalizing on their shattered focus, Yesung forces a wild swinging strikeout to secure another crucial out. Having thrown only 40 highly efficient pitches, the rookie continues his ruthless, ultra-aggressive masterpiece.
The opposing hitters are completely neutralized, hitting weak, helpless grounders into the infield. The defense easily vacuums up the harmless ground ball to keep the base paths completely clear. Another desperate swing sends a high fly ball deep into the night sky, drifting toward the outfield. The center fielder effortlessly tracks it down, securing 6 scoreless innings for the brilliant rookie. Retreating to the dugout to catch his breath, Yesung wipes the sweat from his face, feeling the exhaustion of his effort. His father approaches him with a smirk, casually offering to pull him out of the game if he's feeling tired. Yesung looks over at the bullpen monitors, noticing that not a single reliever is warming up to replace him. Amused by the boy's sharp awareness, his father praises his impressive field of view. With absolute trust in his son's capabilities, he folds his arms and lets out a confident grin. He challenges Yesung to make tomorrow's headlines read that a high school rookie has thrown a historic debut shutout. Another helpless batter swings through empty air as Seo Yesung secures his 6th strikeout of the day. In the dugout, his father and manager smiles with quiet pride, realizing his rookie pitcher's stamina is exceeding all expectations. Despite being deep into the game, Yesung's fastballs continue to register a blistering 155 kilometers per hour. The ball streaks across the plate like a white-hot comet, leaving the batters absolutely no time to react. Up in the broadcast booth, the commentators erupt in excitement as Yesung effortlessly rings up his 7th strikeout. Astounded by his performance, the commentators begin to suspect the rookie has multiple variations of his deadly slider. Left-handed hitters fare no better, completely helpless against a slider that cuts through the strike zone like a grim reaper. Slumping his shoulders in sheer frustration, the embarrassed batter can only wonder what kind of monster pitch he just faced. Watching his son dominate the mound, the manager silently marvels at the rookie's pace to shatter strikeout records. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoes through the stadium as the opposing offense finally connects with the ball. The home crowd leaps to their feet, desperately hoping this hit will finally spark a fierce rally. Yesung looks back in panic as a rocket of a hit flies dangerously down the third baseline. But third baseman Han Seong-yoon makes a spectacular diving catch, snatching the ball out of midair. Stunned by the incredible play, the crowd cheers as Seong-yoon rewards Yesung with a confident, hard-earned grin. In the dugout, the manager chuckles, knowing that tireless fielding practice is finally transforming these boys into elite players. Moments later, the Miners launch their own counteroffensive, sending a monstrous drive deep into the night sky. The opposing center fielder desperately races backward, his eyes glued to the soaring ball. But the ball clears the wall for a spectacular 3-run homer, pushing the dominant Miners ahead by 8. On the mound, the opposing pitcher hangs his head in absolute defeat as the game slips completely away. Back in the dugout, Yesung's manager playfully chides him, pointing out a minor lapse in his pitching sequence. Amused by their banter, a teammate asks the manager if he actually feels bad for the demoralized opponents. With a mischievous grin, the manager admits he is simply thrilled to see his team's bats coming alive. He tells Yesung that with an 8-run lead, they can comfortably seal the game without warming up the bullpen. Sensing an opportunity to bargain, Yesung demands to know what kind of reward he will get for a complete shutout. The manager casually brushes him off, telling them that shutouts are just part of a pitcher's job. Fueled by his father's challenge, Yesung fires a blistering strike to claim his 9th strikeout of his debut. Even in the 8th inning, the rookie's arm shows no signs of fatigue as he maintains his blistering velocity. He continues to steamroll through the opposing lineup, racking up effortless outs with his devastating late-breaking changeup. As the game enters the bottom of the 9th, the empty Miners bullpen confirms absolute trust in their rookie. Taking the mound for his final stand, Yesung stands on the precipice of a historic complete game debut shutout. At the plate, the batter desperately tries to anticipate the changeup, his mind completely consumed by the threat. From behind the plate, the veteran catcher notices the hitter's obvious anxiety and smirks beneath his mask. With a subtle tip of his cap, Yesung signals to his catcher that it's time to pull a fast one. Instantly understanding the trick, the catcher signals for a high fastball to exploit the hitter's hyper-focus on the changeup. Yesung suddenly slides into a quick-set position, completely shattering the batter's carefully timed rhythm. Caught entirely off guard, the batter makes weak contact, sending a high, harmless pop-up into the air. The ball soars high under the brilliant stadium lights as the crowd holds its collective breath for the final out. Tracking the ball's descent, Yesung confidently steps off the mound to secure the catch himself. With a satisfying slap of leather, the ball settles safely into his glove, sealing his masterpiece. Raising his arms in pure triumph, Yesung celebrates a historic complete game shutout in his legendary professional debut. The stadium erupts into absolute pandemonium as the rookie prodigy officially cements his name in baseball history. Up in the stands, his former high school coaches weep tears of joy, immensely proud of the boy's spectacular achievement. Under the flashing lights of the press conference, Yesung humbly attributes his historic shutout to simple good luck. Unsatisfied with his modest answer, eager reporters press him for a more dramatic, headline-worthy quote about his mindset. Realizing the media wants a show, Yesung decides to give the reporters exactly what they are looking for. He boldly announces that his pitching coach promised him a brand new car if he threw a shutout today. The press room gasps in shock as the reporters realize the pitching coach is none other than his own father. Flashbulbs explode as the journalists eagerly write down his hilarious and audacious demand for a limitless black card. Resting in the locker room, Yesung scrolls through his phone, amazed by how fast his interview has gone viral. Suddenly, his father approaches him with a wry smile and tosses a sleek, limitless black card into his hands. Yesung marvels at the sleek, legendary black card resting in his palm.
He immediately suspects a catch, questioning his father's sudden and uncharacteristic generosity.
His father explains that his mother was deeply impressed by the media coverage of the expensive gift.
Smirking proudly, he urges Yesung to buy something extravagant to keep her swooning over his father's style.
The triumphant atmosphere instantly deflates when Yesung confesses he doesn't even have a driver's license yet.
His father's proud smile vanishes, replaced by a cold glare threatening to demote him to the miners. Undeterred, Yesung cheekily threatens to expose his father's true motives to his mother with a viral article. With a legendary debut shutout, a defeated nemesis, and a black card, the night feels absolutely perfect. Lying in bed, Yesung reflects on a reality far warmer and more fulfilling than his lonely past life. His roommate calls out, reminding him that it's finally time to rest after an exhausting historic day. Reaching over, Yesung turns off the light, letting the darkness swallow the quiet room. His thoughts linger on the playful, heartwarming banter he shared with his father earlier that evening. A quiet smile plays on his lips as he drifts off, completely content with his new beginning. The next evening, the bright lights of the Star Stadium pierce the dark night sky. In the dugout, Yesung casually strikes up a conversation with his veteran teammate, Bradshaw. He admits he struggled to control the new sweeper pitch Bradshaw had tried teaching him yesterday. Bradshaw glares in disbelief, insulted that a rookie who just threw a historic shutout is asking him for advice. Yesung nervously laughs it off his luck, but his teammates playfully tease him for being so wickedly arrogant. Another teammate humorously laments that Yesung's complete game shutout robbed the rest of them of playing time. Throwing an arm around him, Yesung whispers a cheeky, teasing joke that only annoys his teammate further. A veteran voice sharply cuts through their banter, reminding them that the current game is far too serious for jokes. The playful atmosphere vanishes instantly as they turn their attention back to the grim reality on the field. A thunderous roar erupts from the crowd as the opposing team unleashes a monstrous hit. The scoreboard flashes brightly, announcing a devastating 3-run homer that puts the Stars in an early lead. On the mound, Mingi hangs his head in shame after his misplaced four-seamer was punished mercilessly. The nightmare continues as the relentless Stars offense connects with another blistering hit. The ball slices deep into right center field, leaving the outfielders desperately chasing a runaway runner. The ball bounces hard off the wall, driving in more runs as the Stars stretch their massive lead. Completely demoralized, Mingi can only watch helplessly as his teammates prepare to pull him from the mound. Yesung watches the unfolding disaster from the dugout, feeling the heavy tension settling over his team. He worries for the struggling pitcher, knowing his father was the one who pushed him into the rotation. Even after a crucial pitching change, the scoreboard reflects a crushing and insurmountable deficit. The gap widens to a brutal 8 runs, leaving the stadium echoing with the opponent's triumphant cheers. Frustrated by the collapse, the manager rubs his temples, nursing a growing headache from the lopsided game. Deciding to shake things up, the manager instructs Coach Park to prepare some fresh substitutes. Coach Park immediately barks out orders, telling the backup fielders to start warming up. Lee Byung-ju's stunned to hear his own name called to step up to the plate. Snapping out of his daze, the rookie catcher eagerly reports, his heart pounding with nervous excitement. In the dugout, the veteran catcher Yoon Bong-won gracefully yields, setting down his bat to rest his legs. Stepping onto the field, Byung-ju takes a deep breath, preparing for his highly anticipated professional debut at-bat. Watching from the bench, Bong-won is glad to get some much-needed rest during this highly lopsided game. Yesung agrees with the decision, knowing they must preserve their veteran catcher's stamina for the long season ahead. Despite the strategic move, a heavy, defeated silence still lingers over the benches. Sensing the low morale, the manager loudly challenges his players, asking if they've already given up. Yesung silently agrees, realizing that a true professional fights with everything they have until the very end. He knows this moment is especially crucial for Byung-ju, who is facing his first ever professional opportunity. Standing up, Yesung bellows a thunderous shout across the dugout directly at the nervous rookie. He boldly challenges Byung-ju to prove his boastful claims of taking the starting spot and show them his true worth. Cupping his hands, Yesung continues to cheer loudly, determined to ignite a fire in his young teammate's heart. The other players watch in amusement, chuckling at the rookie's loud, shameless antics on the bench. Watching the bold young rookie yell, the manager smiles inwardly, realizing the boy has inherited his father's notoriously sharp tongue. Fueled by the infectious energy, Bradshaw joins in, roaring encouragement and demanding a monster performance from the rookie. At the plate, Byung-ju feels the suffocating weight of expectation, his teammates' booming cheers only making the spotlight feel blindingly hot. But a sudden piece of trivia catches him completely off guard, breaking his anxious focus and shifting his mindset. A surge of pure determination washes over him as he realizes the historic career-defining opportunity standing right in front of him. With a desperate, powerful swing, he unleashes his full force, sending the ball screaming off his bat in a blur of motion. Unfortunately, the contact is far from clean, resulting in a weak, frustrating grounder rolling right back to the mound. From the dugout, Yesung leaps to his feet, screaming at the rookie to run with everything he has left. Gritting his teeth, Byung-ju charges down the baseline, his heart pounding in a desperate race against the ball. Every muscle in his body screams as he pours every remaining ounce of energy into his relentless sprint. The pitcher leaps to make the play, but the spinning ball slips right past his outstretched glove in a dramatic deflection. Reacting instantly, the third baseman charges hard, scooping up the rogue ball to salvage the play. He fires a blistering throw to first base as the rookie desperately launches himself into a sliding finish. Dust explodes over the bag as runner and ball arrive in a heart-stopping fraction of a second tie. The umpire sweeps his arms wide, delivering the triumphant verdict that sends a jolt through the entire dugout. It wasn't the beautiful hit he dreamed of, but his relentless hustle turns a weak grounder into a stunning infield single. Panting and covered in dirt, Byung-ju catches his breath, having proven his sheer grit to everyone watching. In the dugout, Bradshaw explodes with excitement, completely thrilled by the rookie's raw determination. Turning to Yesung, Bradshaw proudly boasts that pure physical strength and effort will always win the day. While the manager appreciates the hustle, he secretly winces at the dangerous, unnecessary slide that could have easily caused an injury. Yet, seeing the sheer, unbridled joy on the young player's face, the manager finds it impossible to ruin the moment with a lecture. The spark is lit, and the team begins to rally, though some can't help but playfully tease the emotional rookie. Watching the heartwarming scene unfold, Yesung senses a profound and welcome change in the team's once broken spirit. For the first time, they aren't just playing alongside one another, they are truly starting to connect as a brotherhood. Suddenly, a critical realization hits Yesung, snapping him out of his quiet contemplation. He quickly calls out, demanding a timeout to make a crucial, unexpected request before the game resumes. The crowd murmurs in confusion as the umpires halt the game, wondering what strategic play the dugout is planning. Heads turn in sheer disbelief as the rookie pitching phenom steps out of the dugout and onto the field himself. Striding forward with absolute purpose, his calm and confident demeanor commands the attention of the entire stadium. In his mind, his thoughts drift back to the quiet moments on the team bus after his own historic debut. He remembers seeing his teammate focused on a baseball, carefully preparing a special keepsake. His teammate had warmly presented him with the very ball that sealed his incredible shutout. It was a touching gesture of respect, cementing the bond of their shared journey in the professional league. While everyone else was caught up in the chaotic celebration, his teammate had quietly secured the historic artifact. Now Yesung stands before the umpire, politely requesting the game ball to return the beautiful gesture for his fellow rookie. Acknowledging the request, the umpire signals to the field to retrieve the precious souvenir from the last play. Snatching the baseball out of the air, Yesung secures the ultimate symbol of his friend's hard-earned milestone. Where others saw only a lopsided game, Yesung saw a moment that deserved to be immortalized forever. Standing on first base, Byung-ju looks on in stunned silence, deeply moved by the unexpected kindness of his teammate. Despite the massive deficit on the scoreboard, the very air in the stadium begins to shift with renewed electric hope. Seizing the momentum, Byung-ju suddenly bolts for second base in a daring, aggressive attempt to steal. He slides in safely, catching the defense completely off guard with his brilliant, aggressive base running. The opposing pitcher can only grimace in frustration, his rhythm completely shattered by the rookie's sharp instincts. Back in the dugout, Bradshaw proudly gloats again, taking absolute credit for the rookie's athletic prowess. Watching the broadcast from a luxurious office, a prominent figure takes note of the historic milestone unfolding on screen. The team's owner smiles in satisfaction, confident that his decision to overhaul the coaching staff is already paying massive dividends. His associate agrees, noting how even the most stubborn veterans are falling in line under the new leadership. The brilliant integration of young talent and overlooked bench players has completely revitalized the franchise. With a proud grin, the chairman allows himself to believe that this might finally be their championship year. Back on the field, the momentum continues to surge as the batter connects with a thunderous crack, driving the team forward. The ball screams deep into the night, soaring far over the desperate left fielder's head. With a thunderous smash, Han Seong-yoon delivers a crucial home run, igniting a wild celebration. The relentless onslaught continues as another blistering drive pierces deep into right center field. Slowly but surely, the massive lead dissolves as they narrow the gap to 4. Against all odds, another run crosses the plate, bringing them within striking distance. Under the cover of night, the team bus winds along the quiet mountain roads. Inside, the exhausted players rest, while Bradshaw remains focused on his recovery reading. Nearby, nightmares of brutal training sessions haunt another player in his uneasy sleep. Yesung smiles quietly, realizing the sheer intensity of their recent training has invaded their dreams. Checking his phone past midnight, Yesung feels the true weight of their grueling schedule. Although the wild game ultimately ended in a loss, the atmosphere had completely shifted. They had fallen into a devastating 9-1 deficit early on after a disastrous start. But the veteran Han Sung stepped onto the mound, bringing much-needed stability to the defense. Clawing back to a narrow margin, they relentlessly pressured the opponents until the very end. That 5-hour marathon gave Byung-ju the chance to secure his first clean professional hit. Looking around, Yesung marvels at how this once-dead team has found its fighting spirit. He knows this incredible transformation is all thanks to the unwavering guidance of one man. Soon, the day of the highly anticipated home opener arrives at a buzzing winter stadium. Broadcasters praise the team's legendary turnaround, highlighting the newfound stability of their starting rotation. But today's true test lies ahead as they face off against a formidable league powerhouse. On the field, his teammates playfully tease him about his quiet focus on the stands. He quickly dismisses the jokes, complaining about the brutal morning workouts that left him exhausted. His teammate merely wonders why his eyes keep drifting toward the spectator seats. Gazing out, he admits that seeing the venue has stirred up deep, complex thoughts. Unlike the packed stadiums of their rivals, their own home opener features vast empty spaces. Reassuringly, his teammate promises that victories will eventually bring the passionate crowds back to fill him. Yet, skepticism still lingers as he doubts they can easily change years of fan disappointment. Yesung quietly notes that a fully packed stadium is completely unprecedented in their franchise history. When reminded of his own historic shutout debut, Yesung humbly attributes it to simple luck. His teammate laughs, playfully pointing out that the opponent's sudden awkwardness certainly played a part. But the lighthearted banter quickly fades as the looming gravity of the match returns. 3 grueling hours later, the stadium erupts as they clinch a historic home opener victory. Guided by masterful coaching strategies, the team defies expectations, surging to second in the league. Seeing the glowing headlines, Yesung feels a quiet wave of pride in his father's brilliance. However, a fierce rival publicly names Yesung as the opponent he is desperate to crush. Yesung sighs in sheer disbelief, wondering why this rival is so completely obsessed with him. He struggles to recall when their paths had even crossed to spark such intense hostility. Byungju approaches him, stunned that he could forget such a highly controversial encounter. Byungju reminds him of his own savage insult during orientation, which shattered the rival's pride. Meanwhile, dark rumors spread across the field about Mingi being demoted to the minor leagues. The players murmur in shock, feeling the ruthless reality of professional baseball cutting deep. Knowing the truth from his father, Yesung realizes there is a strategic purpose behind this. He steps forward, debating whether he should clear up the misunderstanding among his anxious teammates. Pausing mid-stride, he hesitates, knowing his words might easily be taken the wrong way. Fearing they will dismiss him as a pampered rookie, he reluctantly decides to stay silent. Suddenly, a dominant presence interrupts the murmurs, drawing the attention of the entire group. The veteran Han Sung speaks up, clarifying that the demotion is actually a targeted training assignment. The rookies stare surprised, completely unfamiliar with this unexpected approach to player development. Hansen explains the coaching staff provided precise feedback, proving they still believe in his potential. Relief washes over the team as they realize their fears of a ruthless discard were groundless. Relief washes over Yesung as the tense atmosphere within the team finally begins to thaw. But before they can relax, the coach steps forward to introduce a new teammate. Welcoming the veteran to the primary roster, the manager urges everyone to work together seamlessly. As the newcomer introduces himself, Yesung's eyes widen in immediate, shocked recognition. The manager quickly steps in to officially introduce the 6th-year pro, Lee Dong-won. Showing his utmost respect, Yesung bows deeply, eager to learn from his experienced senior. Flattered and highly energetic, Dong-won enthusiastically offers a warm handshake to the rising star. The warm welcome is cut short as the coach claps his hands to signal practice. Out on the field, Dong-won praises Yesung's incredible changeup and offers to share his own pitching secrets. Worried he overstepped, Yesung hesitates, only to find his senior absolutely thrilled by the mutual exchange. The rookie stands completely frozen, utterly bewildered by the veteran's sudden and overwhelming burst of emotion. Touched by the rookie's willingness to share, Dong-won eagerly asks for a step-by-step breakdown of his grip. Looking at his senior, Yesung recalls their shared past in the minor leagues where they once perfected this pitch together. Grateful for the second chance, Yesung silently vows to use his regression to repay Dong-won's past kindness. Soon, game day arrives as the Miners face off against the Castlers in a high-stakes weekend clash. On the mound, the pitcher unleashes a brutal inside cutter that jams the batter's hands completely. The sheer force of the pitch shatters the wooden bat, resulting in a helpless, weak grounder. Dominating the hitters, Bradshaw holds the line with a heavy, violent style that defies raw velocity. In the dugout, the players stare in awe, completely captivated by the devastating movement of the pitch. Watching closely, Yesung senses an intense, desperate hunger driving every single throw Bradshaw delivers. Summoning all his strength, the veteran pitcher winds up and fires another explosive ball toward the plate. The relentless cutter freezes the hitter completely, sealing a magnificent-looking strikeout to end the inning. While his teammates clamor to learn the secret pitch, Yesung remains quietly deep in thought. Suddenly, disaster strikes as a blistering comebacker screams directly back toward the pitcher's mound. The brutal line drive hits Bradshaw directly, sending shockwaves of panic through the dugout. Defying the agonizing pain, Bradshaw scrambles to his feet and throws out the runner at first. Shrugging off the massive impact, the warrior on the mound refuses to let a physical blow break him. Observing the miraculous play, Yesung feels his own competitive fire ignited by his teammates' sheer resolve. Fueled by adrenaline, Bradshaw strikes out the next batter to escape the dangerous jam. Despite his heroic efforts, Bradshaw leaves the tied game with no decision, keeping his first win elusive. Shortly after, the defense falters, allowing the opposition to snatch a narrow, frustrating lead. Afterward, Bradshaw tries to brush off the disappointment by focusing purely on his performance incentives. Yet his true frustration boils over as he violently crushes his water bottle in a silent rage.
Seeing the pitcher's boiling anger, Yesung wisely decides to postpone his planned lesson for another day. Meanwhile, at the Daegu Dragons facility, tension rises over the recent media coverage surrounding Yesung. The Dragons manager questions his pitcher about his apparent intense obsession with the rookie sensation. Dismissing the question, the rival insists that Yesung's arrogant attitude has alienated everyone in the league. The manager warns him that talking big only makes a potential defeat incredibly embarrassing. Determined to silence the skeptics, the rival vows to let his upcoming performance on the mound speak for itself. He unleashes a pitch with terrifying velocity, the ball cutting through the air like a bullet. It slams into the catcher's glove with an explosive, deafening crack that echoes through the bullpen. The catcher is left completely stunned by the sheer, cold intensity of the rookie's raw power. Staring down his target with unwavering focus, the rival prepares to throw his next pitch. The catcher marvels at the pinpoint accuracy, praise that highlights the pitcher's elite command. Back with the Miners, Dongwon showcases his own sharp command during a bullpen session.
When asked for feedback, Yesung struggles to find the words to describe his senior's mediocre movement.
Dongwon continues to throw, putting everything he has into his signature breaking ball. The catcher loudly praises the sharp placement, trying to keep the veteran's spirits high. Recognizing the superficial praise, Yesung realizes his senior's changeup is currently far too flat to survive. Sensing the silent tension, Dongwon looks back, beginning to worry about the true state of his pitch. Yesung steps in to offer a subtle suggestion, demonstrating how spreading his fingers could completely change the pitch's movement. Receptive and eager to improve, the veteran carefully adjusts his grip according to the rookie's guidance. Observing the exchange, bullpen pitcher Park Tae-ji nervously approaches, asking if he too can learn the legendary changeup. Surprised but deeply humbled, Yesung offers a warm, genuine smile, welcoming any teammate who wishes to improve. Soon, game day arrives and the electric atmosphere at the ballpark reaches a fever pitch for the decisive final match. The opposing batter unleashes a ferocious swing, sending the ball rocketing high into the open sky. Tracking the ball perfectly, center fielder Kim Jae-boom leaps high into the air, pulling off an unbelievable gravity-defying catch. But the relief is short-lived as the next hit drops cleanly into right field, sending the runner charging toward third. Gathering the ball in one fluid motion, Domingo Batista unleashes a relentless, absolute laser throw directly back to home plate. The runner slides hard, but the catcher blocks the plate perfectly, securing the crucial out to escape a devastating threat. Immediately after, Lee Seung-bin goes airborne, laying his body on the line to make a spectacular diving catch. In the dugout, bullpen pitcher Lee In-gi watches in sheer disbelief, marveling at how incredibly cohesive their defense has become. The rookies exchange puzzled glances as the veterans begin to recount the dark, painful reality of the previous season. Their home stadium was built to be a massive, pitcher-friendly park designed to suppress home runs. Yet, in a cruel twist of irony, only their opponents ever seemed to benefit from the expansive field. Their sluggish outfielders couldn't cover the ground, letting simple hits roll endlessly to the wall for devastating triples. This constant defensive failure triggered a brutal chain reaction of mounting fatigue, completely breaking their thin pitching staff. The crisis became so extreme that first basemen were forced to play the outfield, creating a hopelessly desperate mess. Back in the present, the tense, high-stakes battle rages on with both teams locked in a fierce gridlock. Tied at 2 apiece in the 5th inning, the pressure mounts on every pitch as the Castlers threaten to break ahead. Summoning his resolve, the starter delivers a high-velocity pitch, looking to shut down the opponent's momentum. But the batter fights back with a sharp swing, deflecting the ball into foul territory to stay alive. In a grueling 9-pitch battle, the batter relentlessly spoils every throw, refusing to concede an easy out. The exhausting confrontation takes a heavy toll on starter Hwang Seung-tae, pushing his pitch count past 90. Watching from the dugout, Yesung realizes the opponents are intentionally wearing down their starter to exploit their bullpen. Sensing the impending danger, the coach calls out, ordering the bullpen pitchers to warm up immediately. Instantly, the pitchers rise, shedding their jackets as they prepare to answer the call of duty. Caught off guard, Dongwon wonders if he too will be expected to step onto the mound. Desperate for any advantage, Dongwon asks Yufong if they can continue working on that revolutionary changeup right now. Meanwhile, a sharp grounder escapes the infield, sending the defenders scrambling to secure the play. First baseman Park Dae-young reacts instantly, sliding over to field a tricky bounce with absolute precision. He flips the ball to Hwang Seung-tae, who sprints to cover first base, barely securing the crucial out before collapsing in exhaustion. Recognizing the starter has reached his absolute limit, the pitching coach walks out to make a decisive change. Joe Terry enters the high-pressure situation, immediately unleashing a devastating strikeout to silence the opposing crowd. Pumping his fist in triumph, Joe Terry successfully navigates the dangerous jam, preserving the hard-fought tie. He returns to the dugout to a chorus of cheers and enthusiastic high-fives from his grateful teammates. Watching the celebration, a quiet wave of envy washes over Dongwon as he wishes to prove himself on that very same mound. But a realistic teammate pulls him back, reminding him that this high-stakes game leaves absolutely no room for error. Staring down at the seams of the baseball, the veteran quietly battles his own inner doubts. Shaking off the negativity, he steel hardens his resolve, determined to stay ready for any unexpected opportunity. He unleashes a practice pitch into the bullpen glove, his control looking sharp and focused. By the 7th inning, the coaching staff makes their next move, bringing in the left-handed Lee In-gi to face a tough lineup.
As the high-pressure game enters the 8th, Kim Jun-so is ordered to warm up and get ready for action. Standing in the shadows of the bullpen, Dongwon can only watch as his teammates are called ahead of him. But the unpredictable nature of the game is about to test their limits once again. The coach calls out for Park Tae-gi to get loose as well, ensuring they have every possible option covered. Forcing a bittersweet smile, Dongwon tries to comfort himself, understanding the heavy stakes of this crucial match. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoes through the stadium as the opponents line a clean base hit straight into center field. The runner rounds third and slides home safely, shattering the tie and handing the opponents a devastating late-game lead. But in a shocking turn of events, the Miners answer back instantly, sending a majestic home run sailing over the outfield fence to tie the game once more. On the mound, Park Tae-gi fights with everything he has, keeping their championship hopes alive. With the game on the line, the Miners call in closer Jo Seong-yu in a desperate all-hands-on-deck effort. After a grueling 12-inning war utilizing 13 different pitchers, the exhausting battle ultimately ends in a hard-fought tie. Yet, despite the chaotic, bullpen-exhausting marathon, Dongwon's name is never called, leaving him standing in the quiet shadows. In the locker room, Yesung silently laments his father's harsh coaching decision, wishing Dongwon had been given a single chance to prove himself. A peaceful morning finally breaks, offering a brief respite from the high-stakes pressure of the professional league. Sprawled across his bed, Yesung basks in the blissful quiet of their long-awaited, well-earned rest day. But the fragile silence is abruptly shattered by a persistent loud ringing at his front door. Opening the door, Yesung is greeted by the towering, energetic presence of a grinning Bradshaw. Any hopes of a lazy day off vanish as Bradshaw drags him directly to the gym to meet his beloved barbell. Meanwhile, the media fans the flames of anticipation, hyping up an explosive rookie showdown against Dragon's star pitcher Yan Swang-woo. At the rival facility, Yan Sung-woo sharpens his focus, unleashing ferocious swings to prepare for the looming battle. Driven by a renewed synergy, the Miners' defense sharpens their reflexes, moving in perfect harmony on the field. In the bullpen, Yesung fires a thunderous pitch that cuts through the air with terrifying precision. The pitching coach wonders if Yesung did something to provoke Yan Sung-woo, but the rookie remains completely oblivious. Shrugging off the rival's public declaration of war, Yesung humorously notes he is used to being the target of resentment. Reminding him of the heavy burden on his shoulders, the coach instructs Yesung to pitch deep into the game. As the coach walks away, Yesung suddenly stops him with a casual, unexpected address. Stunned by the rare personal address, the veteran coach pauses and turns back in sheer disbelief. With a mischievous smirk, Yesung cheekily asks his father to step aside so he can finish warming up. Outraged by the casual disrespect, the coach sputters in anger as Yesung demands some actual help preparing to win. Claiming his harsh attitude is simply motivation, the coach sighs in exasperation at his son's relentless, playful banter. Shaken off the humor, Yesung unleashes another blistering warm-up throw that streaks toward the plate. The ball explodes into the catcher's mitt with a thunderous crack echoing throughout the bullpen. Though startled by the raw power, a proud, subtle smile creeps onto the coach's face. Warning him not to exhaust his arm before the real battle starts, the coach walks away with a satisfied smirk. The electric roar of the crowd floods the stadium as the high-stakes showdown finally begins. Gathering in a tight huddle, the Miners prepare their minds for the fierce battle ahead. Woo Hyun-gun lays down the ultimate high-stakes challenge, jokingly threatening that anyone who slips up buys dinner for the entire team. Park Dae-ong enthusiastically chimes in, urging the fielders to lock in and carry the weight for their pitching staff. Placing their hands together, a fierce, unified battle cry echoes as the team commits to victory. Watching the uncharacteristic surge of explosive energy, the coach marvels at how incredibly cohesive the dugout has become. He quietly chuckles, unable to believe this vibrant, motivated squad is the same struggling franchise he once knew. But Park Dae-ong reveals the heartwarming truth, pointing to Yesung as the secret architect behind this sudden team chemistry. In a quiet moment before the game, Yesung had thoughtfully gifted his teammate an eye massager, expressing his deep trust. Astounded, the coach wonders if his son has been secretly distributing gifts to the entire roster. The catcher proudly reveals his niece supplements, finally explaining the mysterious massive charges on the coach's credit card. Underneath the brilliant stadium lights, the colossal arena vibrates with the sheer deafening energy of eager fans. The commentators' voices echo across the airwaves, welcoming millions to the highly anticipated showdown at GW Wintry Stadium. All eyes are glued to the field for this explosive head-to-head clash between the league's most sensational rookie talents. Stepping onto the pristine field, Yesung prepares to shoulder his team's hopes as the starting pitcher. In the field, a nervous teammate quietly questions the gravity of the high-stakes dinner bet. Grinning, Woo Hyun-gun reassures him that lower-paid players are exempt, urging him to shake off the nerves. Instantly, the playful banner vanishes, replaced by a razor-sharp elite focus as the first pitch looms. With a sharp, resounding crack, the very first pitch of the game is violently driven deep into play. Taken completely by surprise, Yesung whips his head around to track the speeding ball's trajectory. The ball sails cleanly over the leaping shortstop, dropping deep into left center field for a stunning leadoff hit. Charging in desperately, left fielder Lee Sing-bin bobbles the ball under the immense, suffocating pressure of the moment. Seizing the critical error, the speedy Dragons leadoff hitter Kim Tae-young slides safely into second base, opening the game with a dominant double. In the dugout, a teammate dryly wonders if the fielder felt a bit too relaxed because of his lower salary. Even with a perfectly executed low pitch, the opponent managed to find a gap and secure second base. Energized by their rookie's public declaration of war, the entire Dragons lineup burns with an intense desire for victory.
Seeking to capitalize on this electric momentum, Jung Byung-sok immediately squares up to lay down a sacrifice bunt.
The opposing manager knows that in a high-stakes duel, a single early run can completely shatter a young pitcher's confidence. Yet, standing alone on the pristine mound, Yesung remains completely unbothered by the sudden pressure. The batter tenses up, deeply unsettled by the subtle, confident smile spreading across the rookie's face. Reflecting on his past life, Yesung remembers how bunts once panicked him, forcing reckless, costly errors on the field. But with years of hard-earned weirdom now guiding his hand, those old anxieties have completely vanished. He knows a single run won't break him, freeing his mind to attack with absolute conviction. He unleashes a blistering four-seam fastball low in the zone, forcing a sharp defensive foul. The commentators marvel at his composure, hitting the exact low and inside corner that paralyzes any attempts to bunt. Sensing a trap, the runner on second expands his lead, desperately attempting to break the young pitcher's focus. In a flash of brilliant reflexes, Yesung whirls and fires a lightning-fast pickoff throw to second. Though the runner barely slides back safely, the precise throw successfully delivers a stern warning to stay in check. Despite the narrow escape, the aggressive runner refuses to back down, stubbornly creeping away from the bag once more. Anticipating the movement, Yesung alters his windup, delivering his next pitch half a beat faster than before. Caught off guard by the sudden change in timing, the batter abandons the bunt and helplessly chases a high fastball. The crowd roars as a masterclass in psychological warfare unfolds on the diamond within the opening minutes. Behind the plate, the catcher secretly celebrates as they successfully force the opponent to abandon their bunt strategy. With the count heavily in their favor, they prepare to execute the final blow and secure the out. Without a shred of hesitation, Yesung fires his third pitch directly into the heart of the battle. A sharp crack echoes through the stadium as the batter manages to make contact with the incoming ball. It is a weak infield grounder, a textbook play that should easily secure the first out of the inning. But disaster strikes as shortstop Yeo Ji-hoon completely fumbles the routine catch, his mind frozen by the high-stakes dinner bet. Online forums immediately explode with mockery, leaving fans desperately questioning the rookie pitcher's mental state after such a costly mistake. Instead of a clean out, a routine play morphs into a nightmare, placing runners on first and second with 0 outs. To make matters worse, the legendary power hitter Russell Gold steps into the batter's box, threatening to blow the game wide open. Yet, looking back at the mound, the commentators are stunned to see the rookie wearing a calm, serene smile. They lament the ruined play, knowing the young pitcher had done everything right to set up an easy out. Watching from the rival dugout, Yoon Sang-woo silently mocks the rookie, expecting him to crumble under the mounting pressure. Sitting on the dirt, the devastated shortstop jokingly blames the high-stakes bet for completely throwing off his focus. Approaching his teammate with absolute confidence, Yesung warmly reassures him, claiming he prefers pitching with runners on base anyway. Completely caught off guard by the rookie's nerves of steel, the veteran shortstop can only nod in stunned silence. He turns to a teammate in disbelief, marveling at how a mere 20-year-old could possess such mature, unshakable composure. Despite the early defensive collapse, the stage is set for a historic clash as the Dragons' best slugger prepares to swing. With the stadium holding its breath, the ultimate battle of wills begins between the smiling rookie and the league's fiercest power hitter. Yesung quickly analyzes the stats of the dangerous slugger, noting his low average but devastating power. He knows that playing it safe against a power hitter only leads to walk-offs and home runs. In a moment of supreme confidence, he decides that aggressive, direct attack is his only path to victory. He unleashes a blistering, fearless throw that sails right past the batter's swing for strike one. The giant slugger is left frozen as a thunderous 155-kilometer fastball paints the inner corner with surgical precision. From the dugout, the rival pitcher watches in awe as Yesung boldly challenges the league's premier powerhouse head-on. Pulling the string on his next throw, Yesung delivers a beautiful fading off-speed changeup to put the batter in a two-strike hole. Outmaneuvered and completely off balance, the seasoned veteran can only watch the ball sail by in helpless frustration. With the entire stadium on the edge of their seats, the legendary duel approaches its dramatic final pitch. Mentally dissecting the opponent's historical batting data, Yesung calculates the perfect pitch to finish the job. Knowing the slugger's hitting efficiency plummets drastically under a two-strike count, he readies his ultimate weapon. He aims to exploit the batter's notorious lack of plate discipline in high-pressure counts. The devastating pitch streaks high into the zone, completely shattering the hitter's timing as he swings at empty air. A three-pitch strikeout silences the crowd, leaving his rival completely awestruck by his brazen, masterful victory.
Under the brilliant stadium lights, the radar gun flashes a blistering 155 kilometers per hour, sending a wave of electric excitement through the crowd. Up in the broadcast booth, the commentators are in absolute awe of the rookie's terrifying precision and complete lack of walks. But just as the praise peaks, a sudden shift in control lands the young pitcher in a challenging 3-ball count.
Missing the mark with his next delivery, Yesung unexpectedly issues a walk, putting a runner on first base.
The commentators are stunned by the sudden 4-pitch walk, wondering if the immense pressure of the moment has finally cracked the rookie's composure. Sensing a critical bases-loaded jam developing, the veteran catcher immediately calls for time and prepares to march to the mound. But as he approaches, he stops in his tracks, surprised to find Yesung breathing calmly with an entirely serene expression. Realizing his intervention is completely unnecessary, the catcher waves off the timeout and confidently returns to his position behind the plate.
Watching from the opposing dugout, Sang-woo seethes with jealousy, recognizing the rookie's signature unshakable swagger.
With the bases loaded and only one out, the dangerous number 5 hitter Lee Yi-jun steps into the batter's box. Yesung locks eyes with the batter, fully aware of the threat posed by the Dragons' premier 17-home run power prospect. Gripping the dugout fence, Sang-woo silently begs his senior teammate to utterly crush the rookie's confidence once and for all. With a thunderous swing, the batter unleashes his full power against the incoming pitch. But it results in a sharp routine grounder to second, fielded cleanly by Woo Hyung-gun, who flips it in a single motion. Whipping the ball to first, shortstop Yeo Ji-hoon completes a spectacular textbook double play to shut down the scoring threat. The team celebrates their brilliant escape, high-fiving as they jog off the field with their heads held high. Back in the dugout, the coach curiously questions if the previous walk was actually a calculated strategic move. Yesung admits he walked the batter on purpose, choosing to set up a double play against a high-power but low-contact hitter. Switching sides, Park Dae-young digs in and launches a towering fly ball high into the night sky. Drifting toward the foul line, the right fielder makes a clean catch to secure the final out and retire the side. Determined to match his rival's brilliance, Sang-woo pitches aggressively, refusing to let the opposing hitters catch their breath. The coach playfully warns Yesung to preserve his arm, receiving a casual, confident response from the relaxed rookie. Returning to the mound, Yesung delivers a devastating fastball that forces a wild, empty swing from the batter. The ball explodes into the catcher's mitt with a heavy, satisfying thud that echoes across the diamond. The stadium erupts as Yesung strikes out the side in the top of the second, keeping the game locked in a tense, scoreless tie. Hearing the stadium chant the rookie's name, Sang-woo's frustration boils over as he watches from the opposing bench. Analyzing the lineup, Yesung carefully plans his strategy against the lower end of the Dragons' batting order. He recalls his memories of the future, targeting an incomplete player who is destined to become a legendary shortstop in a few years. He calculates that stopping this future star from reaching base is the absolute key to preventing a dangerous rally. Suddenly, a thunderous crack of the bat shatters his train of thought, sending shockwaves through the dugout. All eyes track the ball as it travels deep into the outfield, sailing high toward the distant wall. A sudden realization dawns on Yesung as he remembers his teammate's famous nickname for dramatic game-changing redemption. The stadium explodes as Yeo Ji-hoon smashes a spectacular 3-run home run to finally open the scoring for the Miners. Online communities instantly erupt in wild celebration, praising the dramatic swing as the ultimate atonement for his earlier defensive error. Standing frozen on the field, Sang-woo can only watch in utter horror as his perfect game suddenly crumbles.
In the dugout, the coach can't help but laugh at the sheer drama of his player's flair for theatrical redemption.
He looks on with deep satisfaction, marveling at how much the team has matured under the rookie's subtle influence. Running over to embrace Yesung, a relieved Yeo Ji-hoon proudly declares that his debt has finally been paid in full. Reflecting on his 30-year career, the veteran coach realized he has never witnessed a rookie possess such profound psychological leadership. Beside him, the team manager quietly observes the coach's changing expression with a subtle, knowing smirk. The manager playfully teases the coach, calling him out for wearing his fatherly pride so openly on his face. Smiling warmly, the coach jokes that anyone would look proud when witnessing such historical brilliance firsthand. A humorous deadpan silence falls between the two as the manager simply stares back in mock disbelief. Shaking off the banter, the coach walks away with a playful threat, leaving the manager chuckling in his wake. Meanwhile, the broadcast displays slow-motion replays of Sang-woo's curveballs, analyzing his early success on the mound. Despite his impressive stuff, the young Dragon starter has struggled to maintain his composure under pressure. The commentators point out that his real regret was a critical, tense battle that resulted in a costly 4-pitch walk. They acknowledge that while his low and inside pitch was well located, the batter simply made a miraculous, unstoppable adjustment. Gasping for breath on the mound, Sang-woo stares at his hands in shock, devastated that his best pitch was crushed. Sensing his young pitcher's crumbling confidence, the Dragons manager walks onto the field to call a decisive timeout. Stepping onto the mound, the Dragons manager pointedly reminds his struggling pitcher of his fierce desire to defeat his ultimate rival. Looking down in shame, the young pitcher can only offer a quiet, stuttering apology to his coach. The manager firmly orders him to shake off the pressure, reminding him that his teammates will back him up. Stealing his resolve, he nods quietly, desperately trying to regain his shattered focus. With his confidence partially restored by his coach's stern words, he prepares to face the next challenge. In the dugout, another teammate sneers at Yesung's unwavering smile, deeply annoyed by the rookie's supreme confidence. He loudly rallies the fielders, urging them to put the seemingly arrogant rookie pitcher back in his place. Gripping the baseball tightly, Yan Sin-woo prepares to unleash everything he has on his next throw. He fires a blistering pitch toward the plate with all the force he can muster. The batter connects cleanly, sending a sharp, powerful line drive screaming back toward the infield. Showing incredible reflexes, shortstop Yoo Hyun-woo dives and robs the batter with a spectacular backhanded catch. The flawless execution secures a crucial out, cutting off the opponent's offensive momentum instantly. Jogging off the field, Yang Seung-woo gratefully high-fives his teammate for the stellar defensive support. To break the rookie's rhythm, the veteran players suggest intimidating Yesung by acting tough during their at-bats. Watching from the mound, Yesung can only chuckle at their transparent attempts to use him to motivate their dugout. As the bottom of the second begins, the Dragons' offense gears up to strike back. Stepping up to the plate, the next hitter signals his readiness with a deliberate tap of his bat. Shortstop Yoo Hyun-woo steps into the batter's box, trying his best to look intimidating as instructed. Knowing the batter's usually gentle nature, Yesung is thoroughly amused by his sudden, awkward attempt at acting tough. Even the catcher playfully teases him, pointing out that his nice guy demeanor makes his tough guy act look utterly hilarious. From the dugout, his senior teammates join in on the friendly banter, thoroughly embarrassing the young batter. Flushed with embarrassment, Yoo Ham-yu grips his bat tightly, determined to vent his frustration on the next pitch. Yesung mentally notes how their veteran-heavy roster completely dominates the psychological atmosphere of the game. Knowing the batter's future potential, Yesung unleashes his pitch, confident that the psychological battle is already won. Having completely lost his composure, Yoo Hyun-woo swings wildly through a sharp slider for a helpless strikeout. Striking out a premier contact hitter sends a chilling message to the rest of the Dragons lineup. The next batter fares no better, completely fooled by Yesung's devastating slider as he goes down swinging. With 2 quick outs secured, a heavy silence falls over the increasingly anxious Dragons dugout. Yesung quickly commands the count again, pushing the current batter into a highly stressful 2-strike hole. Watching from the bench, Yan Sang-woo bitterly wishes he possessed such a dominant, game-changing slider. Suddenly, a wild pitch slips from Yesung's hand, striking the batter's elbow guard for an unexpected hit by pitch. The sudden mistake immediately triggers furious shouts and aggressive warnings from the hostile Dragons dugout. Ignoring the threats, Yesung calmly bends down to retrieve the rosin bag and refocus. With a sudden, defiant burst of attitude, he spikes the rosin bag back onto the mound. Yan Sang-woo watches in absolute disbelief, stunned by the rookie's incredibly bold, unbothered reaction. Suddenly, a thunderous crack shatters the tension, catching everyone completely off guard. Stunned, Yan Sang-woo can only watch in sheer panic as the ball flies deep into the night sky. The ball strikes the yellow foul pole with a sharp echoing ring that signals disaster for the team. The Dragons' dugout erupts in wild celebration as their legendary power hitter changes the game in a single swing. Russell Gold rounds the bases after blasting a massive 2-run home run, narrowing the score to 3-2. For the first time in his professional career, the young ace is forced to face the reality of giving up a home run. The veteran catcher immediately approaches the mound to check on his rookie pitcher's mental state.
To the catcher's surprise, Yesung displays his signature serene smile, completely unfazed by the sudden setback.
Stunned by the rookie's legendary composure, the catcher can only blink in sheer admiration before continuing. He playfully reminds him that they still need to preserve their bullpen, teasing the young pitcher to stay focused. Yesung laughs sweatily, realizing even his respected senior teammate isn't going to let him off easy. The catcher grins, admitting that the pressure actually came directly from their commanding pitching coach. He asks if they should adjust their game plan and discard the pitch that led to the home run. Taking a deep breath, Yesung looks toward the opposing dugout, ready to play his next psychological card. Meanwhile, Yan Sang-woo smugly anticipates the rookie's collapse as the top of their dangerous lineup steps up next. Tightening his fingers over the seams, Yesung prepares to unleash a pitch they won't see coming. With a violent whip of his arm, he fires a ferocious 150km/h 2-seamer that freezes the batter completely. In the opposing dugout, sheer disbelief washes over the players as they witness the rookie's devastating raw velocity. The broadcast screen flashes with excitement as Yesung ruthlessly shuts down the 6th inning with another dominant strikeout. Watching from their lounge, rival players grudgingly admire his hidden arsenal, feeling a sudden surge of deep professional envy. They note how his legendary coach, Seo Yesung, must have completely rebuilt the young pitcher's mechanics from scratch. Not to be outdone, his fierce rival Yan Sang-woo also delivers a solid quality start, keeping the pressure alive. Meanwhile, the Miners' cleanup hitter delivers a clutch run-scoring hit to push their lead even further. Closing out a masterful 8-inning performance, Yesung proudly secures his second hard-fought victory of the season. Though another rookie makes headlines with a historic achievement, Yesung's rising stardom remains impossible to ignore. Online communities erupt with explosive hype declaring Yesung a once-in-a-generation talent destined for ultimate greatness. Reading the glowing praise from his bed, he reflects on how drastically different this life is from his painful past. As dawn breaks over the next game day, the stadium prepares for another high-stakes battle under the sun. In the dugout, Yesung admits his bold strategy was a calculated move to preserve their valuable bullpen. The commentators eagerly announce a shocking, highly unexpected starting pitcher for today's crucial matchup. Stepping onto the dirt is a 28-year-old veteran who has spent his entire career waiting for this moment. His heart pounds violently as a wave of overwhelming nervous tension threatens to consume his focus. Today, journeyman Lee Dong-won finally steps onto the first-team mound for his very first career start. He bitterly recalls being the only pitcher left behind, warming up in the shadows of the minor leagues. But his fortunes changed when Yesung personally approached him, delivering the life-altering news that his time had finally come. He had stood there in complete shock, unable to comprehend the sudden opportunity handed to him. The reality of the moment hit him like a freight train, leaving him utterly breathless. Yesung had offered a reassuring smile, playfully predicting that a victory today would bring the house down. Now his pitches snapped sharply into the catcher's mitt during a highly promising bullpen warm-up session. Catching the return throw, he takes a deep, steadying breath to settle his racing mind. Turning to the young genius, he earnestly asks why he was the one chosen for this pivotal role. Taken aback by the heavy question, Yesung blinks in mild surprise at the veteran's earnestness. Privately noting the tactical reasons and backup plans, Yesung decides to simply praise his impressive bullpen performance instead. The simple compliment lights up the veteran's face, instantly replacing his deep self-doubt with warm hope. Driven by newfound determination, he strides toward the field, swearing to give everything he has on the mound. Yesung watches him go, quietly amused that the veteran is mistakenly attributing the strategic decision to him. In the dugout, suspicious teammates begin to whisper, wondering if the journeyman has somehow become Yesung's personal favorite. Crossing the chalk line, the heavy weight of the first-team spotlight suddenly presses down on his shoulders. Sweating profusely, he desperately tries to calm his trembling hands, feeling the crushing pressure of his first start. Watching from the dugout, Yesung notes the sparse crowd, realizing the starter's lack of name recognition affected attendance. A passionate cheerleader tries her absolute best to rally the quiet crowd, shouting the veteran's name through a megaphone. But the fans only offer blank stares, openly questioning who this unheralded pitcher is supposed to be. Hearing the dismissive whispers calling him a complete no-name, his chest tightens with familiar, painful insecurity. But then, a sudden sense of calm washes over him as he realizes he has absolutely nothing to lose. Shrugging off the heavy expectations, he winds up and delivers a beautiful, aggressive first pitch toward the plate. The dangerous batter unleashes a powerful swing, making solid contact with a sharp, resounding crack of the bat. The ball soars deep into right center field, threatening to derail the veteran's dream start instantly. Showing incredible range, the center fielder makes a sensational leaping running catch to rob the batter of a hit. Exhaling in pure relief, a wide grin spreads across his face as he warmly applauds his stellar defense. The next batter connects sharply, sending another dangerous line drive screaming toward the right side of the infield. But the second baseman dives parallel to the ground, snatching the ball out of midair in spectacular fashion. The third batter fares no better as the shortstop leaps to make a breathtaking backhanded catch in the hole. In the dugout, Yesung is completely spellbound, realizing the team's defense is playing with unprecedented fiery energy today. Jogging off the field, the ecstatic pitcher high-fives his teammates, deeply grateful for their flawless defensive backing. A veteran teammate winks, revealing that Yesung's physical supplements have made them feel completely rejuvenated and ready to fight. Observing his teammate wiping away sweat, Yesung realizes Lee Dong-won thoroughly analyzed the opposition's lineup. Though a handful of pitches is too brief to judge, the veteran's preparation is undeniable. Down on the field, a blistering strikeout seals a swift, flawless bottom of the inning. The scoreboard flashes a tense, scoreless tie as the teams head into the top of the second. Facing the dangerous cleanup hitter, Lee Dong-won steels himself to protect the Miners' mound. He starts strong, throwing a sharp slider that forces an aggressive, desperate foul ball. Watching from the dugout, Yesung leans forward, deeply intrigued by the developing tactical duel. Analyzing the hitter's stance, Yesung mentally calculates the perfect pitch to exploit the current count. He anticipates a high, blazing fastball outside, which immediately coaxes another frantic foul. The pitcher continues to tease the zone, demonstrating incredible precision with two brilliant chase pitches. Yesung's strategic reading is perfect. The veteran starter is relentlessly targeting the batter's ultimate weakness. For the finishing blow, he expects a sharp breaking ball breaking low and inside.
The sequence is executed flawlessly, demonstrating a masterful grasp of pitch sequencing on the mound.
But baseball is a game of millimeters, and the batter miraculously connects, sending the ball soaring. Every eye in the stadium tracks the high arc as it flies toward wall. In the dugout, Yesung is reminded that even the most perfect strategy can occasionally falter. The ball clears the distant outfield wall, landing in the stands for a massive home run. Knowing the psychological toll of a monster shot, Yesung worries how the veteran will handle it. Sensing his anxiety, the pitching coach Bradshaw steps up, confident in the veteran's unbreakable spirit. He reminds the rookie that even legends give up home runs. What matters is the resolve to push forward. Surprised, Yesung wonders if his fatherly concern for his teammate was really that obvious. Bradshaw smiles, comparing his protective instinct to watching a fragile child playing near deep waters. Yesung reflects on the veteran's painful past of being cut by team after team before finding a home. He realizes he had been unfairly viewing his teammate through the lens of those past struggles. Looking toward the dugout, he realizes his father, the head coach, saw something far deeper in the player. The manager selected him not for his painful history, but for the relentless growth he displayed daily. Coach Bradshaw's scouting instincts prove correct as the veteran pitcher continues to attack the zone aggressively. Unshaken by home runs or walks, the veteran stands tall, completely owning his game on the mound. Spotting the raw emotion on the field, Bradshaw playfully points out the veteran's tearful relief. Welcoming his player back to the dugout, head coach Seo Yesung warmly praises his incredible grit. Exhausted but deeply relieved, the veteran expresses his heartfelt gratitude to his trusting coach. Stepping forward with a bright smile, Yesung warmly congratulates his resilient teammate on a spectacular performance. Overcoming all odds, the veteran starter earns his first career win, showered in the deafening cheers of ecstatic fans.